In a video review, content trumps everything. Presentation, production value, delivery, and just like how all the trappings at Thanksgiving are there to serve the turkey, the trappings at a review might be Hollywood level excellent, but if there's nothing to sink your teeth into, who cares? At the same time, if all you have is content and no trappings, you might as well read a blog. It's not a feast without cranberry sauce and dressing, and it's not a video review without some visual and auditory panache. And that's what this week's challenge is all about. We gave the contestants 6 arbitrary criteria to integrate in their reviews any way they chose, to see how cleverly they could work them in without those moments feeling obtrusive. They had to include the color orange, a pun, a Shakespeare quote, a reference to an 80s action movie, somebody pointing, and the phrase, "Yeah, buddy." These videos are most effective if a viewer who didn't know about the criteria wouldn't scratch his head wondering why that was there, but then if he was told about them afterward, couldn't imagine the review without them. And I'll tell you right now, when I finished some of these, I said, I'd buy that for $1. This week boasts one of the most eclectic assortment of reviews we've ever seen, as we open the door wide open to review subjects. No restrictions on selection whatsoever. You'll see everything reviewed from a video game, to a Starbucks drink, to a Hollywood director, to a random book about paranormal phenomena. It's great to see these guys thrown in the kitchen with all their implements at their disposal. We told them what to garnish with, but we're learning a lot about what they're most passionate about through their main course selection. As Shakespeare said when he wrote Romeo and Juliet, "'Tis an ill cook that cannot lick his own fingers." Unfortunately, Frobertson had to leave the contest unexpectedly due to personal commitments. We wish him all the best, and he made a point to tell me that he took a great deal from his experience just participating in that first week. So we begin this week with E11, and we will vote at least one contestant off by the end. And now, let's find out who's managed to make the most satisfying meal, and for whom this challenge was just a fork in the road. Here are your judges panel. It's the real Manos.
Hello, I'm the real Manos.
It's Lance Fusion.
Here's the story of a lovely fancy. That's me.
It's Aaron Dicer.
Yeah, buddy.
And superhero enthusiast.
My last name tonight is Kilgrave, apparently.
Wait, what?
My last name's Kilgrave tonight, apparently.
What? Why?
Purple Man.
Oh, sorry. I forgot about the purple thing.
You screwed that up.
Yeah, I did. But honestly, with the camera where it is, I don't know if anybody else would have picked up on that. But anyway, yes, Alex has a purple room right now. It also turns different colors.
This is true.
But he's
not going to show you, though.
He's not going to do it for you right now. You haven't earned it. So anyway,
you just have to trust us.
Here we go.
I say there is no darkness, but ignorance. And for some people, that is not bliss enough. One of those people is Judy Owlin, who wrote a book embracing that darkness called Unexplained. Written in a textbook format, the book covers a massive variety of mysteries, theories, and legends that tug at even the most skeptical imagination. Probably. First you have the prologue, where it explains the whole theme of the book, which you can already learn from by the title. Then you have the chapters. There are 11 chapters, each of them focusing on particular categories of subjects known for being of controversy over whether or not they actually exist or have been solved. And then it's time to recap the new words you learned. But I noticed that some subjects get more attention than others. The cryptid chapter is only 3 sections long: land, sea, and cats where they shouldn't be. Meanwhile, the superstition chapter feels stretched out. Just to name a few: cat lore, plant symbolism, and bird omens? Seriously? 2 pages dedicated to bird omens?
Yeah, buddy, I see no top banana in your future.
Get the duck out of here! Also, some of the unexplained may not be interesting enough to be explained. But sometimes you have to go through the bee flight and the Groundhog Days before you finally get to the aliens.
Do they mostly come out at night?
Mostly. Each subject is approached in different ways. Judy Allen gives us logical explanations for some, but there are others where she presents them as still a possibility for reality, even though they might seem outlandish. Now, there's a lot of people out there who are 100% certain on what they do and don't believe in, and no book like this will tell them otherwise. But that doesn't mean they still can't find enjoyment out of this. What might be an intriguing factoid to one person can be a load of steaming bullshins to another. Or it can be a fun ghost story to that another. So basically, the book showcases all of these mysteries and myths, but leaves you to take them whichever way you wish. Too bad they don't address the mystery of why these staples are coming apart when I try so hard to take care of this book. This book earns an 87%.
Let's begin with Alex.
Okay. The bullshins thing cracked me up. I'll just say that from the start. I thought that was one of the funniest puns I might have ever heard. I think don't let his humor distract you from the fact that this actually is a really good review. He brings up a lot of, I think, really smart criticisms of how things are weighted in this book. He talks about whether or not it's going to convince people who are skeptics or not, and he's kind of able to inject his own opinion kind of subtly with the jokes and whatnot. So for my money, this was actually one of the best ones this week. I really like this.
What do you think, Aaron?
I totally agree. I think this is a video that everyone will love, probably. It is so funny and so good. Like, I agree, especially with what you said, Alex, about, don't mistake the fact that it's really funny. Don't let that keep you on the surface, because once you go under the depth, I understand this book, like this silly little book that, I get where it was good, how it included things that you might not think it would include, how it included too much of, cats where they shouldn't be or whatever the case may be. I love this one, and I'm becoming a good plot fan for sure. He's really good.
I want to throw this out there. You can pick anything you want to, and this is your choice,
right?
Like that's fantastic. I mean, I think one of my favorite things about this is that he justifies the pick just by how entertaining and then as Alex said, insightful it is. Like, it might be tough to get people to click on a thing like this because they're not looking for it, right? But once you're there, you're like, I would never have cared to hear about this, but now that I have. It's kind of like, it seems like he's able to kind of take any subject and do this kind of 3-minute short, really fun hysterical review out of it.
You know what it is? He understands his voice so well. He understands that character voice so well. He gets the humor of it. He gets the delivery of it. You can just feel that he's honed in on how that character would look at a book like this, how he would talk about it, and it's done really well.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, is that it's from the perspective of that character, and maybe not just the guy. Lance?
I totally agree. I mean, first of all, Lance seeing cats where they shouldn't be cracked me up, just like it's cracking everybody else up. But what's impressive is that you can have a review, you can have jokes, you can have a review with jokes, but being able to integrate the humor into the review so that the jokes are the review is incredibly impressive. I did feel that I thought the Yeah Buddy thing was funny, but I thought that was a little bit of an example where he didn't quite integrate it as well. That's a little bit random to me. But overall, this is one of my favorites as well. This was great and hilarious and informative. It does everything a funny review should do.
Manos?
I would just want to echo what everyone said. I've been watching him outside of the contest, and I would have to agree. He knows how to use humor and balance it with well thought out reviews, and he really does have a good voice for that character, like you said, Aaron. And he knows when to pull it back to just do the review and not let it get into the way. Which people who do character reviews can kind of dip into that a little bit. but he knows the exact balance on that. And I got to tell you, this personally brought back some memories. I don't know about you guys, but I read books like this as a kid, and I used to find them fascinating.
Oh yeah.
And boy, it just took me right back. The line about the cats is hilarious. The "get the duck out of here" joke is wonderful.
That was a really good use of the orange.
Yeah. And, geez, this was just a nice piece. This is really good.
This, for me, is one of the best this week, especially in use of the arbitrary criteria. Because I think, Lance, you're right about the yeah buddy thing, but with the exception of that, I think that anybody could look at this and not notice the criteria, and I think that he...
definitely.
And I think that he used it, like it's really well organically integrated, and I think that he used it as a strength, and it didn't seem to inhibit him or challenge him. I think that there are 3 or 4 that did that really did this, and I think he's one of them. That I think he got some hilarious jokes that were inspired by the criteria that we would never have gotten, and maybe his other jokes wouldn't have been nearly as funny if he hadn't had that to go on.
The Shakespeare one in particular, I felt, just because going with a Shakespeare quote at the start seems like kind of an obvious thing, but he turned it into a joke because the quote involves darkness, and he's in the dark looking around, and that connects to the book. So it just all integrated really well.
And he uses his side characters very well, like Mr. Goodhop and the robot, Mr. Goodbot.
Goodbot, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love seeing the bunny in the dark, because it looked like Night of the Lipas for a second. It was very funny.
We haven't really thrown a lot of criticisms out at it. We're out of time, but I want to throw this out real quick. This might just be me as a writer and somebody who's interested in literature. I would have liked to have known a little bit more about what the style of prose was like. That's one thing that's not really there. I'd like to know kind of what the tone of it is. Is it dry, or is it more of a conversational tone? What is the prose like?
I think he mentioned something like a textbook feel at the beginning of the video.
Oh, maybe I missed that. Okay.
I seem to remember that.
But he definitely gets a lot of that. Now, let me ask you guys this too real quick. Do you think that what do you guys think he's going to be like when we get to longer videos? Because I think this 3-minute thing is perfect for this guy's style. Like, I think the shorter videos are actually like really working for him, and kind of a big advantage for him right now, where some people are struggling to get everything in 3 minutes. I think the 3-minute thing has really focused him.
I think it might be helpful for his style, but I think it's too early to say if it'd be, hindered by a longer video. I think he's got it in him to, kind of take that extra time and, space out the content, as well as space out some more jokes. It doesn't seem like he's, running short on either. So I think
I agree. I think a longer format would actually help him with the character even more so than that. For the exact same reason. I think, he'd have a little more space for humor and maybe even storyline if he's planning one.
Yeah, and we'll definitely see, but I think I'm glad that we reined him in like this, because I think that the videos he's done for this contest have been better than some of the other things I've seen on his channel, and I think part of that's because we've limited him like that.
And I gotta tell you, that Staples joke is one of the most relatable jokes I've ever heard. Like, who hasn't felt that way, It's so perfect.
It's also another great example of how the humor is integrated, because anybody could just say the staples in this book are loose, they don't, the book doesn't hold up. He used that as a way to continue to be entertaining but still be a review.
Well, I liked how he actually talked about the book as an artifact and not just as a means of conveying information. That was cool that I thought he talked about it as an object.
And that's something that a lot of reviewers miss, and it's impressive, especially being such a short review. You're right that when you're reviewing an item, you have the presentation is important, like the way it's collected is important. I review comics sometimes differently if I read them digitally than when I read them in print, just because the experience is different.
Okay, so when I first got this assignment, I thought, okay, well, what is something that I could review that could be easy to implant all of these random requirements into? That was the original goal, but then I thought, I was taking too much time deciding what would best fit this challenge. So I decided, okay, I need to go ahead and just choose something quickly. And one of the interesting things I have that I was thinking about reviewing for the show was the Unexplained by Judy Allen. I think the hardest part was making sure that the requirements that you guys needed were implanted into the review as subtle or at least as not obvious as possible. Just make sure that they were subtle enough. I never showed in the video the full what this fully looks like. It was just a bunch of close-ups. And also some of the, I personally think that some of the pictures I took were just not that good, like a little blurry, but that's because I was just trying to figure out the right light to take the pictures in, and of the pages, and I decided to do it like midday without the lights, because the lights caused this glare that would have been distracting, and I just wanted to avoid that. There is one picture in the video that does have the glare, and that's the cats where they shouldn't be picture. I guess if I could do this again, I would try to make it less dark, because I wasn't going for pitch black like it appears in the YouTube video, although I've been looking at the video from different points of view, different computers, and it looks kind of different on each one, how it looks. Sometimes it's pitch black, and other times it's just really dark. It didn't look like that when I was originally filming. The original intent was that it would just be really dark, but not completely dark. It would be but my light would shine through that darkness. But I didn't intend for it to be complete darkness. I didn't film during night, as it might appear in that video. It was during daytime, and I covered all the windows with blankets, and because the windows I'm referring to do not have curtains. But will I get Top Banana this time around? I wouldn't think so, just because I think it's because I was just a pleasant surprise to them that I wound up being more competent in my review than expected. Not to self-deprecate, that's just how I am, usually talking about myself, and so I do expect to be safe this time around, but I think that now that I've shown my, I guess, potential, I should call it, they might get used to that and not expect another Top Banana this time. But who knows? There might still be a big old surprise like last time. And the most difficult, I'd say, was the Shakespeare quote. I kept trying to figure out which one to use and where to implant it. And like almost everyone else, I decided to do it at the beginning, to set up the whole theme of the review, and that's where the darkness played into. It just, I didn't make the video all dark because of that quote. It was the other way around. Like, I chose the quote because it happened to match the darkness, so it wound up being a little bit easier than I realized, but it was still hard choosing it to begin with. Well, comparing this to the first time, I think I put just as much effort, if not a little bit more, but I'm not sure if that effort will be shown through the review as much, so I am a little bit concerning over that. You seem unhappy.
Of course I'm not happy. The possibility of Top Banana will make him overconfident. You better keep him in line.
I will do whatever you say. Just leave my partner out of this.
Let's go ahead and move on now to Connor Nielsen, and he reviewed Birdman. Connor Nielsen, Birdman, here we go.
Hey there, Connor here with another review. The Oscars were held recently, and the winner of Best Picture was Birdman. Also winning Best Cinematography, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Direction. Yeah, buddy, I think now is a better time than any for me to put in my 2 cents. Birdman is the story of former Hollywood superhero actor Regan Thompson, now washed up and trying to make a comeback in the form of a stage adaptation of Raymond Carver's short story, What We Talk About When We Talk About Love, on Broadway, because he feels his success never met his artistic potential on screen. So, what do I think about Birdman? I like it. It's a good movie that has a lot to say with great characters, but I don't think it knows how to end. Right off the bat, I need to say that the gimmick really works here. That being the editing, cinematography, and direction provide the illusion that most of the film is one long, continuous take. This stream of consciousness approach lends itself a sensation similar to that of a stage play, while also being a wholly cinematic experience. Director Alejandro Iñárritu does a wonderful job of balancing this while also providing a manic, unpredictable tone. But he's not alone. Antonio Sanchez's improv-style percussive score adds an extra layer of pandemonium. But above all else, this tone benefits its key character, Regan Thompson, played marvelously by Michael Keaton. I think this directorial choice really clicked with me when Regan says, "I'm not sleeping," like, at all. And Keaton brings an essential energy to this performance, as he does all of his performances. He's exciting, entertaining, and telling us he's constantly on the verge of losing his mind. But he's also a likable personality, with an "it is not in the stars to hold our destiny, but in ourselves" approach of working hard. And we want this hard work to pay off. We get great supporting work here from Edward Norton, Naomi Watts, and Emma Stone. Edward Norton plays this notoriously hard to work with actor named Mike Shiner, who admits to putting on this defiant, yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon attitude. But unfortunately, I don't think these supporting players get a proper arc by the time the credits start rolling. Once we get into Act 3, it's all about Regan, and while Keaton is undoubtedly the best thing in this movie, all the loose character threads really leave me feeling hollow. But overall, I really like Birdman. It's well directed, it's got great characters, and one of the best performances I've seen in several years. And the script is solid, until it clips its wings at the top of the third act. I'm giving Birdman an 8 out of 10. Thank you very much, and until next time, this is Connor Nielsen, signing off.
Okay, I'd like to open this one, if I can, by just briefly reading the first paragraph that I wrote to Connor, because embedded in that is something that I'm sure all of us are thinking about. I wrote, "Everything about this review is bold. It's a risky choice of subject and a risky choice of style. You risk not having enough time to deal with such a complex piece, and you risk coming off as too novel or gimmicky by pulling a superhero enthusiast and reviewing the movie in the same style, and you mostly nail it on both counts." Alex, once again, I want to start with you. He did something that you did last year in a way when you reviewed My Dinner with Andre, in doing it in the same style. Did you find that effective? Did it work? Was it too distracting? What do you think about it?
I thought it really worked in this case. In fact, I would go as far as to say this was probably far more challenging than what I did. Although I guess Rockman and I also did a similar thing in the next round.
That's right.
Maltese Falcon, which that was a bit of a challenge given we were countries and like a continent apart. But I thought Connor was quite effective with this. Yeah. I thought overall this worked. I'm not personally a fan of the movie Birdman, but so I guess Connor has sort of bad luck as far as picking things with me in this contest goes. But overall, like I love this. This was great, and I thought he kind of hit everything that he needed to.
Alex, are you going to explain some important background piece of information about this movie that will discredit it and make us all like it a lot less?
No, I don't have that kind of piece of information this time, but just a taste thing.
Aaron.
Bravo. I thought this was amazing. I love high concept stuff. I love that he did it. A couple things in my mind are the memorization. And if he used like key points in his journey to jog his memory for like certain things he wanted to talk about, like if that became almost a memory aid to kind of be doing it that way. Like it's one of those videos you watch and you want to talk to him about it. You want to ask, who was the camera person? Bravo to them. Kudos to them for not tripping over a bunch of stuff, So you wonder how many takes, all that kind of stuff. And I think that speaks to the creativeness of the video itself, which again is very relevant considering the creativeness of the movie itself. And so I really loved it. I loved his integration of the arbitrary criteria, especially the action movie reference. I thought it was one of my favorites. And what else? Oh, I did want to say the one thing I wondered, I thought the review could have been a little better with the stuff he didn't like about the movie. He mentions he doesn't like the end, but he never really talks about why. So I didn't really get a sense of what it was about the end that clipped Birdman's wings. Now, I tend to actually agree with that assessment. I think the end actually ruins the movie for me in a lot of ways. But I would want to have that conversation about, why you feel that way, because it might be different than the reason I feel that way. So I did feel like there was a little bit of, depth he could have gone into more with that. But other than that, I thought this was incredible.
I mean, I imagine part of that is trying to be non-spoiler about it, but but I'm with you. It seems like you have to say something more than just it falls apart in the third act.
Yeah. Just something even, keep it, you don't have to give spoilers, keep it bland enough that you don't, maybe, but yeah, I just felt like they could have used a little bit of expansion with that.
Lance.
I think this is the most impressive one on this entire round. I can't get over how much I like this one. Again, just like with Eric, there's so many things I thought about, how many takes to this, so much attention to detail, not just the cameraman, but he also had somebody else put that tape score to his wall while he was gone.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
That's a good point.
And while he didn't necessarily have like the most laugh out loud arbitrary criteria, I think he incorporated his in the most seamless way of anybody else. Nothing felt like it was put in there like in an obligatory sense. And this is all just in terms of details, just even the percussion of the music he had in time, as well as dialogue. And this is all just wrapped into a really awesome review. I did not have any negative critique to say about this one. I loved it.
I think that one of the really neat things about this, because I think that you run the risk of being too distracting when you do this kind of gimmicky thing, is that it's a really, and you can't get away with it all the time, but in this particular case, it's a really neat way to get around copyright stuff, because in not showing, like he doesn't have to show any pictures or any video about the movie, but in doing, and I'm probably saying this because I've seen the movie, so I don't know if this would work as well for somebody that hadn't, but he is illustrating what the movie looks like and what it sounds like while simultaneously talking about it. So it gives you that visual aid without actually having to show anything from the movie. And that's part of what makes that work. It actually really benefits the review because you kind of feel like you're watching it, but you're not watching it. Man,
I totally got that. I'm sorry. I have a lag.
I was just saying, he's able to get across all that information without actually having to say anything, so it works tremendously well.
I just think it's really cool. I've never really seen anybody do this before, where while he's walking and talking and then using that music, he is telling you about exactly that part of the movie. Like that's the first thing he goes to. And that was really smart. Manos.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this video's use did kind of get you right into the mood of like the actual film. Because I've seen videos do this with get you kind of in the spirit of things. And I was wondering because I know the video, I know the film actually uses like cute edits to kind of make you think it's one seamless shot over and over again. So I was actually wondering myself if they were doing anything like that.
I wondered that too.
To make the video easier. And kudos to the cameraman. I agree with Aaron 100%, or camera girl, whoever was doing it. Because I mean, I'm probably sure they probably tripped like 8,000 times during those steps. So yeah, I thought this was a pretty clever video. I didn't think it overused it, and I was hoping that by the time we got to the end, we would actually have some kind of like gimmick not maybe gimmick, but some kind of like visual sight gag to let us know that, you know, something was different when he got to the end, and he sure did with the rating there. And it was a nice, subtle visual one. It wasn't too in your face.
How much work had to have gone into this? I mean, like, I kept wondering if he somehow had some sort of a teleprompter device, and then I decided about halfway through he had to have memorized it. And I guess we'll find out. I'm glad that we're doing interviews this year, because we'll for sure get to find out about a lot of that stuff, I'm sure. And if not, I'm going to ask him some more specific questions, and because I want to know. But like Aaron was saying, how many takes must that have taken? I mean, it's a 3-minute review, and he's saying a lot of stuff. I got a couple quick critiques. Criticisms. One of them is, in a perfect world, you'd mic it different. In a perfect world, you'd have a lav mic or a boom mic so that your audio didn't sound like it was getting farther away from you and then closer to you. Especially when he leaves the apartment or leaves the apartment building and he gets so close to it with the door, the audio became really kind of it is so different that it took me out a little bit. The nice thing is he was able to get a hold of an actual camera this time and not just use a cell phone like he has been, because there's no way that would have worked. The audio on that has been so quiet. I was excited to get to hear him better this time, so that's good. The other thing is, and I wouldn't be saying this if I hadn't seen the film, but I wish he had. It's rough reviewing a movie this complex and weird in 3 minutes, because there's a lot of stuff I wanted to hear him talk about that he wasn't able to get to, mostly thematically. I think it's really weird to review Birdman so much as a traditional narrative, because it's not that, and the movie is so much about criticizing film criticism, so it's almost disingenuous to review the film so traditionally without calling attention to that fact. And I kept waiting for it, and it never happened. So as far as the content, that's my one big criticism, is it's weird to review it like you would review any other movie, but never mention the fact that it's kind of an argument to a degree against film criticism, or at least it raises questions about it.
That's maybe fair. I mean, I kind of chalk a lot of that stuff up just to he's, I think, trying to do a non-spoiler review, so I don't know if he was just unsure of what he could even fit in, let alone, putting in that extra stuff of, that might potentially spoil things.
Yeah, I agree. That is the danger. I review films and stuff like that, and there is that. You want to know how much you should talk about, how much you're not. Usually, I do feel more freed up when I go out and purposely make a spoiler review. It always feels good to do that. I've reviewed, one was really cathartic. I did, Batman Dead End, City of Scars. And, anybody could watch it and come right back to my video. And I felt free to just review it in detail with my positives and negatives about that film.
Hey there, I'm Connor, and I reviewed Birdman. So why did I review Birdman? Because it won Best Picture, and I wanted to review something that was within my wheelhouse, movies, but also was able to be something that had relevance at the time. It just won Best Picture. Somebody could be looking up a review, stumble upon it, and not know it was a part of this competition, but it still has the 6 arbitrary criteria. I wanted to review Boyhood, if that won Best Picture, because I wanted to have a gimmick to go with it, like Birdman, one take, and if Boyhood won, which I wanted it to win, not only because it was the best movie of last year, but also I was going to review that movie over the course of 12 days. See my facial hair kind of grow a little bit, see my hair get a little greasy, then back to clean a little bit. Anyways, so the hardest part of this review, I don't think it could possibly be me reviewing it in one take. This stream of consciousness approach gives a sensation. This stream of consciousness approach lends itself a stimulus. We also have Emma Watson, but overall, and it's got one of the best. Yeah, that wasn't the hardest part. Special thanks to my brother, who is the cameraman. He's kind of been helping me out with this competition as far as telling me what's, improving the lighting and just being there as someone to just really slap me over the head and he'd say, hey, here's what you're doing wrong, here's what you need to improve on. Special thanks to my stepbrother Jake, who was really helping coordinating, opening doors, and putting up, this piece of paper, and just a huge help. And also special thanks to Tim, the drummer, who was in Spencer's jazz band, who actually did the drumming for us. Thank you so much. Yeah, the hardest part was filming it all in one take. We must have done that over 100 times, over 100 attempts, and there was only 2 honest to God, good, complete takes. And a couple days, really during when we were filming, this happened to my knees. So walking around was a little tricky. What would I do differently if I had the chance to do it all over again? You know what? I just about lost my mind doing this, but I can honestly say I wouldn't change a thing. I'm very proud of what I made. I honestly love how it all turned out. Which of the random criteria was the hardest to include? When I was writing the review, they were really tricky, but easily the hardest one for me was yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. I don't talk like that, I guess, in reviews. Ever since it's been one of my criteria, I've been saying it a little too much. So, yes, that was the hardest one to include. How do I feel about my performance this round compared to last round? I think it is a marked improvement. I didn't really need to do a lot of research on something that I wasn't really familiar with, i.e. a website. This one was more in my wheelhouse, and I think it challenged me in a way for me to stretch my creativity in a way that benefited me, as opposed to having me to stretch it into untested waters. I also think my delivery was better. I think my review was written better. It was less fast-paced and quickly edited. And I just thought it was just a much better piece than last time. So marked improvement over last time. I didn't get any of the facts wrong. And you know what? I didn't stutter or flub up once. Proud of that. So do I think I'll get top banana this round? Yes, I do. I'm very proud of it. I'm confident that I will get top banana. I don't think I should get voted off, because if the challenge was to really stretch creativity and really see how creative I can get, I went about as ambitious as I possibly could for this, and I don't think the hard work that I really stressed over was for naught. I think it is very obvious when you watch the video. So I think I deserve top banana, I believe. Anyways, hey guys, if you liked my movie review for Birdman, then my brother and I have a conjoined channel called Connor Spencer N, where we have a weekly discussion on movies, usually the latest wide release films. It's called CS Reviews. It's a movie podcast. Come out and check it sometime. Anyways, thank you guys very much, and I hope you enjoy.
Matt with Darksiders. Here we go.
Of the moon.
No, Manos, not Darksiders of the moon. Wow, you're so derivative.
You know, I've always been fascinated by the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, but I don't remember war in the Bible carrying a giant sword with the faces of the damned on it. Must be one of those new translations. Darksiders, developed by Vigil and released by THQ in 2010, is a game that I like quite a bit. To me, the game's quality comes from how it takes gameplay ideas we've all seen before and puts them in a new context. But it could be argued that Darksiders doesn't do one thing particularly better than any of its peers. Our story follows the Horseman War, who has been falsely accused of starting Armageddon ahead of schedule. The story is fairly simple, but it's elevated a bit by the voice work. Liam O'Brien is great as War, and the Watcher, War's mandatory companion, is voiced wonderfully by Mark Hamill. He really forces a lot of mean jokes on War. The soundtrack is appropriately atmospheric and epic when needed. The world oozes with vibrant color, and the art style and character designs absolutely make up for the less than amazing texture quality and occasional graphical hiccups. The game's structure, though, is a bit familiar. Our sword-wielding protagonist must venture forth to various locations across the post-apocalyptic Earth and solve puzzles, find keys, open doors, find an item to help explore the rest of the area, then use that item to defeat the boss of said area. How Zelda. But it works well here, and Darksiders separates itself by combining this overworld structure with fairly deep and fun hack-and-slash combat. Also, I don't think Link ever ripped out a boss's heart Kalima style. So yes, for the most part, I find myself accepting the use of these mechanics. They're still fun here, and the devs managed to create some fairly solid puzzles revolving around the use of the items. And besides, not every item feels like it's from a Zelda game. Like the Earth Caller or the Void Walker, a wrist-mounted gun that when fired makes an orange portal, and then a blue one. I get the feeling you guys really liked this game. And I know what you're gonna say, that Mad Kid, everything's a remix. And yeah, buddy, that's true, but this goes beyond remix, this is video game sampling. And therein lies the rub. If you've played Portal before, it sticks out like a sore thumb. It just doesn't blend as naturally as the other mechanics. I mean, they didn't even bother to change the colors of the portals! Ultimately, if you've played any of these games before, you may find yourself a little distracted. You're going to be able to clearly see where this game's influences come from. But if you like those games, then you're probably going to like this one. No, the dungeons aren't as complex as the ones in Legend of Zelda, and the combat isn't as intricate as Devil May Cry. But it combines these elements into a cohesive whole. This game is pretty darn cheap nowadays, around $10, so I recommend giving it a shot. In spite of some less than original design choices, Darksiders' overall quality shines through. I'm that Mac Kid, I'll see you around.
A lot of people just put the point at the end because it's an easy sign-off. I'm just throwing that observation out there.
I don't think that was his point. I thought his point was when he pointed at this game, when he went like this.
Oh, that's true. He did that.
Okay.
That's a cooler place. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. You're right. Yeah, that's good. I also should have. It would have been cool if one of the arbitrary criteria had been a ding. Because now that he did the ding, I wish we'd heard everyone do a ding somewhere. Especially because we've heard so many alarm klaxons this year. Not one alarm klaxon out of the 11 videos this week. Are we surprised? Okay, I'm going to go the other direction and start with Manos.
I wanted to talk about, this is clearly a video game that, I guess he has a lot of passion towards, like maybe he's played it and because of its, being slightly derivative of these other games, probably annoys him but fascinates him at the same time, so I can tell he really put his, effort into this one. It's a nice, clear, concise, review with the same amount of, nice kind of, humor to it. I guess maybe video game reviews are a little dry to me, so that might have affected my enjoyment of this video versus the one he did last week. But he still kept up the pace, and I think explained it pretty well to even a video game novice like myself. What's wrong with this game and what's good about it.
Lance.
This is one of those where it's hard to say something new I haven't said about, because it's very much in the same vein as what he's done before, the same level of quality, the same kind of same very polished style. So there's nothing wrong with that. It was great. I thought that he did a great job of giving specific examples in terms of elements in the game, elements of other games that are like that game. So I came away with a very strong impression of what this was like and how he felt about it. Something I found interesting is that it seemed to me that the review was strong enough that it made me wonder at first, the first time I was watching this, if he was going to start including elements from the challenge, the arbitrary criteria. And so I was glad that they did eventually get in there, but they did seem kind of under the radar for me, and that's not necessarily a criticism, because I much prefer that to when they don't seamlessly integrate. Like, oh, this is the part where I have the pun. This is the part where I have the color orange. So getting it to seamlessly integrate is great. But it was almost like it felt like it just kind of happened, and it didn't really take advantage of potentials for humor like he could have. And that's probably the only negative thing, or potentially negative thing I could say about that, is he might not have taken advantage of the criteria like he could have. It's much better than it just being randomly, arbitrarily there, for lack of a better term.
That's the word of the week, isn't it? Aaron.
I disagree a little bit with that, Lance. I felt like the 80s action movie reference was good, like Rip Out His Heart, Kali Ma style. I thought that was kind of humorous. But here's the thing with that Matt kid, just professional. He really understands kind of how to put a review together. And because of that, I think he understands how content flows. I always come to the end of his reviews completely understanding the thing he's reviewing. Like, if nothing else, I'm not confused. Like, I get what it's about, I get what he liked about it, and I get what he didn't like about it. And I think that's, the key to a lot of what reviewing is. So I really did enjoy that. Having said that, I think there's a little bit of level of discomfort going on, and I'm not sure what it is, but I can almost read it on his face sometimes. And I'm not sure if maybe that's on me or if there's, if he's just trying to find his comfort in front of the camera in those moments. He looks professional, but there's something about the delivery that maybe it comes off as too polished sometimes or something like that, but there's something there that's working against me. Also, did he say protagonist? Is that the way it's pronounced?
No, it's not. Here's
yeah, that was on purpose. It's red letter media thing.
Okay,
I'd like to address that real quick if I may. That is. I thought he was probably referencing red letter media there too.
That's right.
But what's tough about it is sometimes I think it's hard to tell in sort of when he's joking.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
And that and that sometimes when you can tell he's joking, you almost wish that he would like deliver a little bit more snarky, or at least with a little bit more enthusiasm. Like on the page, it's maybe funnier than it is the way he delivered it. There are places like that. So like I'm not saying that he's reading deadpan. It's expressive enough, but when he's going through and you're just kind of getting a basic competent critique about a thing, and then all of a sudden he says protagonist. That's not fitting with his persona, really.
Right, and that's why it totally flew by me. I didn't even connect it to red letter media because it seemed like it was just a natural part of the review and maybe just a mispronunciation or something. So, but yes, thank you for clearing that up for me. Otherwise, thumbs up to the Bible shout out at the beginning. It's always good to hear from nice little scripture shout out. So, love that.
It's funny. It's funny because I watched these with my wife this time, and Sarah was actually like, Sarah watched that, and she knows a lot about the Bible, and she said, well, the only thing that's different is just that there's faces on the sword. She's like, war has a sword, so she's like, I don't know why that's that out there. Like, the only difference is there's faces on it now. Alex.
I don't really have anything to add. I agree more or less with everyone. To kind of echo what Manos said earlier, I'm not a gamer either, so I was able to watch this and totally understand what he was talking about, so I thought he did a really good job there. I thought for the most part, the arbitrary criteria were pretty well integrated, although I thought the forced joke was forced. Although maybe that was like a meta joke itself, I don't know. He can stand to work on his performance a little bit, but other than that, like, he's still really polished and professional, and this is really well written.
Yeah, it's solid, and that's about all I have to say about it. I'm a little bit, because the problem is this is a contest, so if I'm just watching his channel, I'm saying this is a really well-made review, it's very professional, and it tells me what I need to know about the game, and there's a couple places where I chuckled. In the middle of it, like, he stood out a lot at the beginning because we weren't used to the way he does things yet. Now we are. This is amongst the milieu, I think, one of the more forgettable videos this week. And again, it's really good. It's really well made. And I will be surprised if it doesn't keep him in. But at the same time, I want to see him try stuff. I think this is probably the right format for his channel. I think he should maybe keep going with exactly the way he's doing this for video game reviews on his channel. For the sake of and I know people hate it sometimes when I say this, but for the sake of the contest, I think next round he's gonna have to step it up in gameplay a little bit.
I think that's you make a really great point. I think that's something we dealt with last season as well with my stuff, because my videos are very much the same week to week to week, which works when you're just reviewing movies every week. But over the course of a contest, like, I'd see superhero enthusiast stuff and I'd be like, oh man, I gotta step it up. he's probably going to look at some of these videos and go, you know what, I need to get creative. I need to do some fun new stuff. And I think, you know, if he can do that, if he can embrace that, he'll have a lot of success.
I'm going to suggest this. If he tries some, and I mean, you take risks and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But I think if he tries some crazy stuff and it works, and I mean, I'm a little hesitant saying that, you know, giving somebody the green light. But if if he tries some something kind of out there, maybe wacky, maybe even a little bit counterintuitive, that might help him come out of his comfort zone a little bit, Aaron, and that might help to defeat that that sort of awkwardness that you and I are both seeing. Because I said that first round, I was the only judge that said that, and now we're to round 2, and other people are noticing it too. I think it's been there since the beginning.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that will help with that.
So why did I pick what I picked? Well, because I like Darksiders. I said that in the review. It's a game I really like, as derivative as it is. It's a game I really like, and also when I was thinking about like, oh well, I want something that'll fit the criteria without like stretching too much, and Darksiders worked really well for that. With the whole bit with like the orange portals, and well, there's just a lot of orange in the game, and also because I knew Mark Hamill was in it, and I was like, I have this idea for this joke about, you know, forcing jokes, because pun. So yeah, those were the main reasons, was just because I liked the game and I thought of a Mark Hamill thing, so that was fun. The hardest part was definitely fitting all that I had to say in the time limit, and I know I went like a few seconds over the time limit, but it was tough because there was a lot of stuff I would have liked to have gotten more specific about, so that was probably the hardest part for this review, more so than the last review, because the website review I was able to pretty much get out everything I wanted to say. This one I had to cut more stuff than I wish I had to. And also my capture card like messed up on me and threw off my whole schedule, but that could have happened in any review. That's not very specific to this challenge, so that's just kind of a thing that happened. If I had more time, or if I could do it over, well, if I had more time, I would go, like I said, just into more detail. I would maybe talk about the story a little bit more. I think War does have a decent character arc. It's not amazing, but it's there. And I would have probably gone into a bit more detail about some of the other, because I mentioned God of War, and I mentioned Devil May Cry, but I don't really talk about, like, it's pretty derivative of those games too. Like, there are some very like clear similarities. So I might have gotten into a bit more specifics about some stuff. If I had to do it over again, I might pick a different game. Actually, I might have picked a shorter game, like an Xbox Live Arcade game, or a PlayStation Network game, or like an indie game, just something shorter. But I mean, I'm still happy with how this turned out. So, do I think I'll get Top Banana? Well, as far as viewer Top Banana goes, I don't know. I have no idea, because I'm really curious to see who won in the polls from from the first round. So I have no idea as far as that goes. Judges Top Banana, I think I have a shot. I think I fixed a lot of the technical issues that were wrong with my last video, and most of the judges seem to really like that video, so I hope I get it. But I will say that a lot of the jokes I talk about and a lot of the references I make might go over their heads, and that's not because they're unintelligent, it's because they're not gamers. So when I make a joke about how this follows the traditional Zelda formula, I don't know if they've played many Zelda games or any Zelda game, so I don't know if they're gonna get that like kind of reference. Same thing with the joke about Link not ripping, bosses' hearts out. I don't know if they know that Link is the protagonist of Legend of Zelda games. That feels like common knowledge to me, but I've been a gamer like all my life. But I assume they know that. So yeah, not trying to insult the judges. The hardest of the random criteria was the 80s action movie. I had a Tremors joke, and then I realized that Tremor is from 1990, January of 1990. So that I had an Akira reference also at one point, but I didn't know if that would count. So yeah, but it wasn't too bad. The Shakespeare quote was a little tricky, mostly because I wanted something. At first, I wanted something super, super obscure, but I don't like to digress too much to make a joke, and I wanted it
to kind of be inside the review, not like at the beginning or the end of it. So I went with something simple. Pointing was easy. The Mark Hamill joke, the pun. All that wasn't too bad. I think I did better this round. The lighting is good. I think I was better on screen, more comfortable, more relaxed. Part of that was I wasn't using a lapel mic this time, or a lav mic. I was using a shotgun mic, which let me move a little bit more, but I do think the audio quality suffered a little bit because of that. But overall, I think I did better this time around. So, can't wait to see what the judges think, and I can't wait to see what you guys made, because this is fun. Anyways, alright, see you around.
Next up, we're going to look at Comics Kid reviewing the Samurai Jack pilot.
Hell is empty, and all the devils are here. In the same year that the Samurai Jack cartoon series began on Cartoon Network, a DVD containing the first 2 episodes was released, acting as a 1-hour pilot movie for the series. The plot of this premiere is very straightforward. In feudal Japan, a demon named Aku takes over the land. A samurai warrior tries to stop him, but Aku sends him far into the distant future, where Aku still reigns supreme. The warrior, now calling himself Jack, saves a group of civilians from Aku's minions, and determines to find a way to return to his own time so that he can defeat Aku and prevent this horrible future from ever happening. Even after 14 years, the animation here still stands out. It's like some unholy fusion of Jack Kirby and the Looney Tunes, and I love it. There are times when I feel this movie is trying too hard to think outside of the box, like when we occasionally give up the normal animation showing the events of the story, and instead show still shots positioned like a comic book page. Stylistically, this is very bold, but I think it's better to stick with the tried and true method of showing us what is happening in a normal animated fashion, just like every other cartoon on the planet. The style here is also quite interesting. There's a little bit of everything here. The samurai stuff goes without saying. The show's creator, Genndy Tartakovsky, said that the goal in creating this character was to go for a young Asian Clint Eastwood. And the last third of the movie feels very much like a western where the silent stranger comes to town and disposes of the menace and leaves just as quietly as he arrived. We also have callbacks to Star Wars, comic books, strip clubs, will.i.am, Tex Avery, dogs. Despite this whole movie being one giant hodgepodge of pieces that seemingly would not gel well together, the movie is still able to find its own voice, tonally speaking. At no point do I feel jarred by the patchwork quilt of influences we've got going on here. Unfortunately, style and animation are the only elements of this movie I can praise. This is definitely a style over substance movie. Tartakovsky is the Zack Snyder of the animation world. In the extra features of this DVD, Tartakovsky said he has never watched a movie where he felt like there was an adequate amount of action. He always wants more action, and the action is where this movie really exceeds, but character and story is where it fails hard. The characters are extremely archetypical, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Aku is evil personified, and Jack is the man with no name like Clint Eastwood, but I do wish this movie had fleshed out the characters a little bit more while still maintaining their archetypical status. Even if Aku remained one-dimensionally evil, it would have been nice if Jack was fleshed out a little more. And the story isn't much to write home about either. With a running time of 1 hour, 7 minutes are spent showing Jack train. It's over 20 minutes in before Jack is sent into the future, and then 20 minutes is spent showing Jack prepare for his fight at the end, and then the fight itself. You could say this movie does Jack in the way of story. Get it? Because his name is Jack. While visually stunning, this movie fails in every way that a movie should strive to succeed. And what's worse is it doesn't feel like this movie is even trying in those areas where it should be trying the most. Although I enjoy this movie quite a bit, I can only give it a 1.5 out of 4, and it only ranks that high because of the amazing style. Here we are, born to be kings, we're the princes of the universe. I really enjoyed that review of Samurai Jack Does Things and Stuff, and now we're going to begin with Let's Fusion!
Hello! Love that name.
Hey Manos, it's almost as good as Nick Blood!
Oh no, man! Oh god.
We just can't get over Nick Blood. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lance Fusion!
I just have to say at this point, I hate the lag developed on my end. It's really hard to just jump to things.
It's not great on our end either. You're very jumpy.
Before it started, and everything was fine. And as soon as we start recording, then I'm like way behind the rest of you. Anyway, I like this one. But I did have some problems with it, and at first I thought it was the presentation of the script. I think it's more the delivery, the editing. The beginning just felt rushed to me. It felt like I was still getting to the introduction of Samurai Jack and all. No art style now. I think it was just too point, and not enough room to breathe. And I know it's a 3-minute long video, but still, once you got past the beginning, I felt the flow was better, but just the beginning, it felt kind of rushed. I thought there was a lot of really good, funny stuff in there, but I do think he might have used too many cutaway gags, where I think it might have been better served to use more images of Samurai Jack itself rather than cutting away to, say, Sucker Punch and Tim Burton. And also felt that some of the arbitrary felt kind of obligatory. The Shakespeare quote at the beginning, even though I see how it was related, it's called, oh, this is part of my Shakespeare quote, as opposed to Mr. Goodplot, who also opened his video with the Shakespeare quote, but felt much more made it into his video.
Yeah.
But that said, even though he called attention to the fact that he was making fun in the same kind of way I just criticized, it really worked on that one, because it's a pun and it's supposed to be funny, so we can call attention to that, and that's okay. I like that. So we don't.
Mr. Dicer.
I feel like, man, we're like 4 for 4 so far. I really like this one too. I think the content in this is really great. I love the examples he uses. I love the way he talks about his points. I feel like he makes a point and then he's able to back it up with what he says, which I really like. It feels very in-depth. I liked that he was on screen more, although for me, I almost wish he was speaking on screen a little bit more. He's got a good delivery style when I've seen him talk to the camera. And so I think he could use a little bit of kind of the facial expression and delivery that he's good at to make some of those points. There is a lot here, and it does feel rushed. I agree with that. I think there's maybe a need to scale back on the quantity a little bit and just let the quality breathe, really hit the points that are your strongest and, let them breathe a little bit, because he includes so much here that I do think it does feel a little bit rushed. Also, I think some of the graphics feel really low quality. And I know we've talked about them filling the screen, using the real estate, using the space, and I know he doesn't do that, and maybe that's just part of his style to kind of do low quality graphics. But it does get distracting at some points, for me at least. So those would be the negatives that I saw. But I thought overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good.
I want to ask you a question really quick, Aaron, and everybody else also, because I'm conflicted on something after you guys mentioned stuff about his delivery. Does he sound too red, or is that part of his style? I
just think it's a consequence of everything he has to get in. I think that because he has to get so much in, and that he's got to squeeze it in there, that it does feel a little more red, because it's got to be so precise. That's just my guess.
And I mean, it's okay that you can tell a thing is scripted, but you still want it to sound conversational, like the way you would just normally talk. And he definitely sounds like he's probably like his inflections are different than they would be if he was just talking to you or me.
And that's what I'm talking about with him getting on the camera. Like, I think that would relieve a little bit of that if he actually showed himself delivering on camera. I think he'd feel it a little better.
Go ahead, Alex.
I'm actually going to break with the pack a little bit and be a little bit negative towards this one. I felt like he said that this is an action-driven show, and he talks about how the director was obsessed with getting in as much action as possible, and then he feels the need to judge this more based on story and say, oh, the characters aren't developed enough. And I mean, my obvious response to that is, well, it's a pilot. They're not going to be very well developed in the pilot. But I just kind of felt like he focused more on story stuff and criticized it for story when it's an action-driven thing, and I don't think that's really fair.
See, I thought the same thing too, and then I was arguing with myself a lot about it, because I think that he makes a bit of a justification for going that way, because he says, okay, it's action-driven, and that's what it wants to be, but then it also is like not exciting and fun enough with the amount of time it spends on stuff. Like I thought when he made the point with the clock, I thought I started questioning whether or not that was a problem.
I thought the clock was a good device to use. It gets its point across really, really well visually. I happen to personally disagree about the montage. I actually quite like that montage from Star Samurai Jack.
I've not seen it as part of the problem, and so it's hard to like. So I'm in a place where I'm like, I might, if I knew if I disagreed with you or not, it would be a lot easier to decide if that's a problem in the way you're critiquing it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm kind of coming at this too from the perspective of someone who is a Samurai Jack fan and trying to put that aside and just judge this as a review. But just even kind of from that perspective, like, I just felt it's a little bit unbalanced and not really right, again, to criticize it so much on story when it is trying to be an action-driven thing. But, you know, I thought some of the jokes worked well. I really thought the comparison of the art style to Jack Kirby meets Looney Tunes was really great. That probably is why I like it so much, because I like both those things a lot. So, I don't know, I'm somewhat middle of the road with this one. I agree more or less with kind of everything else that was said as far as it being not edited the best and the pictures being low quality, and I really do think that's something he needs to work on, particularly when, you know, he made a criticism of, oh, they jump around between aspect ratio and do this comic book panel thing. It's like, you're kind of doing the same thing in your review. Just kind of, I feel like he needs more polish. But if he gets that kind of nailed down, then otherwise it'll be more or less fine. I happen to kind of disagree this time.
These kind of reviews really bank on people not full screening YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Manos, do you have anything to add, man?
Yeah, I have to agree with some of the statements that have been made already. I do think this was a very funny review. I do think it was well written. I do agree that it does feel a little more red than it should. Maybe if he had just practiced a couple of times on it, it'd feel a little bit more natural. I know he's trying to condense all the humor and the review and the content of the review, so it's not superficial. But you know, it's just, you know, the timing can be made to feel like it's more red. Yeah, when you're reviewing a review that you actually disagree with, it's a little partial challenging, because I do like Samurai Jack as well. That and Powerpuff Girls, I think, have like created like sort of a blueprint for the type of shows that Cartoon Network is doing right now.
Yeah.
And you can see the influences of those two shows in, you know, Adventure Time and Steven Universe and a couple other things they're doing now. And by the way, unintentionally, I laughed at the creator's line about trying to make a Japanese or an Asian Clint Eastwood, who himself was a white Toshiro Mifune. So it all comes back, I guess. Because, yeah, I mean, fun fact, his cowboy movies were remakes of Toshiro Mifune's samurai movies.
Which themselves were actually often remakes of film noirs or like noir novels. So it's like this weird America to Japan back to America kind of a thing.
That's right. But yeah, that's what I have as far as that's concerned. I think I pretty much agree with everything everybody said so far.
Archetypal or archetypical?
That's so archetypical of you to say.
What is the grammatically correct way to say that word? Because I have accidentally I've done both. I know in Superhero Rewind I've definitely said both. And
I think it's archetypal.
I think it's archetypal too, because the one time I said archetypical, I looked at it later and was like, that's not right, I don't think. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there really quick. When he said it twice, I was really like, I don't think that's the right way to say that word. The one thing I want to mention real quick before we go on to the next one is that he took some advice of mine from last round, and I think that's part of what hurt the pacing for you guys, because I told him that and some of you guys didn't agree with this, and he obviously took my advice to heart. I don't know if that was a good idea or not. It wasn't, and I'll explain why. So I said your pictures are flipping at such a clip that sometimes it's hard to keep up with, but more than that, it's it's really distracting when you put up pictures that just go along with some random word you said in the middle of a sentence. And so he quit doing that here, and he doesn't have them flipping as often. I think the pacing of how often they flip now is a little bit easier to swallow, especially in a short review. But I think when he's flipping is off sometimes. So one of the reasons I think a couple of you guys didn't care for some of the extra pictures he was using that weren't Samurai Jack is because he lingered on them too long when he'd go on to a new topic. So when he has the Little Mermaid picture, for instance, he's already talking about the Gennady Tartakovsky thing, but he's still got a picture of her up. If you don't want to put up Gennady Tartakovsky yet, any random picture from the film will do. And that's always been kind of my rule of thumb with Superhero Rewind is you flip, like to have kind of a rhythm, you flip every certain amount of seconds, basically. I mean, like I'm not a stickler for it, but like I just have kind of a rhythm. So like every 3-4 seconds, every 5 seconds, you'll flip. And especially when you go on to a new topic, you really need a new image, just to help visually transition to the next thing, regardless of whether or not the image is exactly what you're talking about. So like I think he could have, and I don't know if he was actually taking screenshots from the movie. I suspect not. Though I suspect most of that was Google image search. I think this would have been served a lot more if he had taken a lot of screen grabs and then pulled from those screen grabs, flipped more often, but just to a lot of pictures. That have to do with what he's talking about, but from the film.
You know, actually, I want to bring up something that Alex had talked about for a second, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because he was on the subject of reviewing story content versus the action, and I think he's reviewing this not so much as pilot as of a TV series. He's reviewing it as the film it was released on DVD and video at the time. Because you got to remember, back in the late 90s, Cartoon Network and a lot of other channels were releasing their pilots differently than they kind of do now. In comparison, like Batman Beyond and Samurai Jack, they'd kind of release like the pilots, especially if they were like an hour or 90 minutes or something like that, as films. And then, maybe... they release the episodes either in video or in DVD, as opposed to now, where they release, at the first 16 episodes or the first 12 episodes, so you get more of an episodic feel. And then that gets you all excited, and then you buy season 1, which is like 12 more episodes or something like that, plus extras. So the way things were released back then was a little bit different. So I think that's what he's reviewing. I agree. I'm not sure, even when you think about it that way, I'm still not sure if he should. I think maybe he should have kept that more in mind, but I think he is being fair as far as the way it was released.
Yeah, but I also totally see where Enthusiast is coming from, saying,
"Oh yeah, I mean,
well,
it's
clearly meant to be an action-driven thing, so maybe you're not quite holding it to its own terms." I'm still on the fence about that. But Alex, that was the first note I wrote down, and then I scribbled it out because I couldn't decide if I really agreed with it or not. So I'm really on the fence about it.
Well, I mean, my perspective is, like, you don't read Jane Austen novels and then complain that there's not enough action in it. So it's like, there's, this is sort of like the reverse, right?
Yeah.
I've seen people do that, by the way. I've seen people review things.
That's having no
not Jane
perspective.
Austen, but review things like, you don't know what this thing's about, do you? Because you're complaining about stuff that you want to see in it, and... that's not what they were intending to do.
Alex,
you know who was really good at that was Ebert. Ebert always took every movie on its own terms. Like he would look at the kind of movie it was trying to be, what it wanted to do, and compare it to other movies that were trying to do the same thing or wanted to be similar things. Instead of his own desire for what he wanted to see in a movie, sometimes he'd talk about what the movie was doing. So I think that's a valuable piece of information for anybody that's reviewing stuff, is to not let your own biases on what you think the content should be mess you up from talking about what it wants to be.
Exactly, and he was able to compare films that were wildly different to each other in terms of what he felt they were trying to achieve with that film, which I think is a totally fair way, because I'm tired of people... It seems like modern reviewers, especially like online reviewers, seem to act like you can't compare stuff at all. And I think when you think of it in those terms, you can.
Yeah, and to a degree you have to, because things are influenced by other things, and if you never make any comparison at all, it's really easy to assume a thing is doing something for the first time that's not. Alex, real quick, because we've got to move on, but I wanted to suggest this after what Mano said about him reviewing this as a film, and I saw it that way too. Again, I really wish I just knew this material better. I wonder if his point might have stood better for you if he had compared it more to the show proper, because I think what he was resisting was that format on a grander scale. And I think maybe he just wasn't communicating that right. But I mean, like, Samurai Jack is it's a TV show. It's 22 minutes. It's much easier to do totally action driven and not do a lot of character stuff in that amount of time. What he might be resisting is the format. What he might be really saying is an hour is too long for one story told in this style.
That's great.
And also, and also the series, if I remember correctly, it was told in chapter form,
wasn't it?
Actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Was that one of those shows that was like 15-minute chunks, or was it like 22-minute episodes?
It's 22 minutes.
Okay.
But each one is sort of like its own weird episodic thing. That's just kind of part of a larger story, which is part of why I like Samurai Jack so much, because you can kind of tell any story in that universe.
But yeah, I mean, it just kind of sounds like he was saying one thing and maybe sort of meaning something else. Where he's like, okay, I probably would have liked this more had there been more character stuff. But what he's really resisting is things just took too long and he was bored, and that's a fair thing to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just could have been that he could have found a better way to articulate that.
I chose the Samurai Jack 1 hour pilot probably because I had a good balance of good things to say about it as well as problematic things about it. Because I feel like when you have a time limit on a review, you don't want something where you only have negative things or where you only have positive things, because either way you go, it's not going to be a good review. And for me especially, it's a lot easier for me to complain about something than it is to say nice things about something. So if I pick something where I only have negative things to say, it would have been a lot harder for me to have fit all of that into 3 minutes, and also I don't think it would have been as good of a review. And I felt like with the Samurai Jack thing, once I finally landed on that, once I finally decided that was what I wanted to review, I realized that would be perfect because I had a really good balance of nice and not so nice things to say about it. The hardest part for this video, based on the criticisms of the Twitter review in round 1, I had fewer pictures in this video, and I also let the pictures stay on the screen longer. And for me, that was a very hard impulse to fight, because any time in the past I've ever done pictures, or I've ever done videos with pictures that are going up over my audio, I always want to have many pictures and I want them to go kind of fast-paced, but several people in the criticisms of my previous video were saying that was no bueno and they didn't like that, and so I wanted to try and see if it would work out this way, and admittedly it was a whole lot easier for me to make the video when I have fewer pictures and I don't have to have each picture last an average of 3 seconds. If I have them last a little longer, then that's less audio that I'm going to have to find pictures for in the video. So it was easier to edit. I don't know if the video itself turned out better because of that, because I feel like I'm too close to the subject matter at hand. I feel like since it's my video, it's hard for me to remain unbiased about it. So I guess we'll see if everyone likes the video more because of that. But I feel like the hardest part for me was just listening to the criticisms from round 1, specifically concerning having the pictures stay on the screen a little bit longer. If I had to do it all over again, what would I do differently? I would probably film a few moments, or at least one moment, where I'm actually talking to the camera. In my Twitter review, there was only one moment where I'm actually speaking, and it's video of me, and that was at the very end, just a little sting for the purposes of humor. And then other than that, it was just still images and audio from me. And then a few of the judges were saying they would like to see more of me on camera. And so for this video, I had one moment at the very beginning of the video where I was showing the DVD that I had, and then there was one moment where I was spinning my jacket around, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then there was the moment at the very end where I was swinging the sword around. And if I had to do it over again, I would do one moment where I'm at least speaking, because I feel like when they said they would like to see more of me on camera, what they actually meant was they'd like to see me talking to the camera like I'm doing right now. And the only reason I didn't do that this time was because it's really hard to time yourself whenever you're just on the camera, and even if I write out everything that I want to say, that would mean that I would have to memorize everything that I have to say, and it ends up being a lot harder and a lot more work if I do it that way. But on the other hand, if you go through all of that work, it probably ends up looking like a better video. So if I make it to round 3, that's something that I'm going to deeply consider, is doing parts of the video where I'm actually talking to the audience via the camera. It's something I didn't try this time because it would have been a lot more work, but if I do make it further into the contest, that is something that I am probably going to do just to shake things up and see if it works out well for the video. Do I think that I will get top banana this round? Probably not. I think based on how my Twitter review went over with everyone, I think that I'm not going to get voted off this round, although I could be surprised. I don't think I'm going to get voted off, but I also don't think I'm going to get top banana. I think for a little while, for the next couple of rounds, I think I'm going to be somewhere in the middle. I'm not going to be the worst, but I'm not going to be the best. I do, however, think that this video is better than my Twitter review. I think that I did do a good job of listening to some of the critiques that the judges had. There were several different things that I tried to do differently to better make this video fit those criticisms. And so I think that this video will probably go over better than the Twitter review, but you never know, maybe it won't. So I guess we'll find out, but I still don't think that I'm going to get top banana. Based on now that I've seen a couple of the videos from all of the other contestants, I think there are a few other guys who have a better chance of getting top banana than I do. What was the hardest random criteria to follow in this video? That would be the yeah buddy. When I was writing out this review, I was able to remember almost all of the criteria. I was like, okay, right here I'll put in reference to the 80s action movie, and here I've got somebody pointing, and I'll wear an orange jacket here. I had almost all of it when I wrote out the whole review. And then as I was timing myself reading it, I was rehearsing, I was trying to get it done under 3 minutes. As I was doing all that, I was like, oh yeah, and the phrase, yeah buddy, has to be in the video somewhere. And I didn't know what to do, and then I realized, well, I've already been kind of tinkering with the idea of taking my shirt off and spinning around my jacket, and so I thought I'll just have the words, yeah buddy, written on my shirt. I don't know if the words were super visible. I was able to see it whenever I was editing the video, and then whenever I watched it again after I had finished editing it and everything, I was able to see it, so hopefully someone who doesn't know that it's coming is not going to miss that. Hopefully it's going to be visible enough that it doesn't go under the heads of any of the judges. But that for me was definitely the hardest one, and if I had to, I guess a little subsection of if I had to do anything differently, if I could go back in time, I would probably rework the yeah buddy in there somewhere else, but that's a phrase that I never use in my real life, so that would have been very hard to organically slide in for the audio part, for me to just say yeah buddy in the review. So I feel like writing it on my chest and going topless for 3 seconds of the video worked out a little better for me because it felt slightly more organic than me saying it, which is actually kind of strange now that I think about it. How was my performance compared to last round? I talked about this a little bit when I was talking about am I going to get top banana or not. I feel like this video is superior to my Twitter review. I don't know if it actually is, I just feel like it is, and like I said, since I'm too close to the video, since I'm the person who made the video, I'm not really sure if I'm the best person to make that statement, but I feel like I did a better job of following some of the problems and complaints that they had and fixing those problems and complaints. Now, I'm not sure if the content is as good as the Twitter review or if it's better or worse. Like I say, we'll just have to wait and see. But I feel like it's a little bit better. I guess we'll see if everyone else likes it better. So that's all I have to say. Good luck to all of you guys in the contest. I hope that I see most of you in the next round. Talk to you guys.
Let's go ahead and move on now to Samurai Jack Does Things and Stuff. And he reviewed Grim Fandango Remastered. Here we go.
Friends, Romans, viewers, lend me your ears. I come to bury Grim Fandango Remastered, and to praise it. Grim Fandango is an adventure game from the 90s set in the land of the dead, a place where everyone looks kind of like they've had their faces melted off. You play as Manny Calavera, a skeletal travel agent who, after uncovering the truth behind the corrupt people that he works for, his life, or rather death, is on the line. As you can probably tell from the title, Grim Fandango Remastered is a remake of the original 90s adventure game, and being a 90s adventure game, it is ludicrously difficult. I spent ages on each puzzle trying to think of the logical solution, but then when I found out that in order to get into a wine cellar I first have to get my friend drunk, lock a waiter in a cupboard, and then hide in a barrel, I'm a little ripped off, to say the least. I also feel there are a lot of lessons that haven't been learned from the original. One thing in particular is that it doesn't have an autosave system, so when a certain someone spends about 2 hours playing, only to be interrupted by the game crashing and therefore them losing all of their progress, well, I guess it doesn't exactly make you want to keep playing, does it? All that said though, the game wouldn't be the classic it is today if it were entirely bad. When I first got the game, I ended up playing for about 2.5 solid hours. As the story progresses, I found myself getting more and more absorbed into the world. None of the characters are normal, each of them are unique and memorable in their own way, ranging from a skeleton in a suit to a orange demon thing. In fact, at one point I found myself so engrossed in the story that when one of the characters was about to do something stupid, I literally said aloud, "Yeah, buddy, I wouldn't do that if I were you." Despite its flaws though, at its core, the game is a captivating experience and a lot of fun. It's just a shame that while the remake did improve some aspects like the graphics and the controls, it still feels more like a makeover than a remaster. If you've never played the game before and loved games like Day of the Tentacle, then I would recommend it wholeheartedly. But if you've already played the original, then I'd say there's not much point in getting what is essentially the same game. My verdict, you'll have to think outside the box for this one. And when I say outside the box, I mean outside of any logic or reasoning either.
It's so out of the box we don't get one! So clearly I am not the audience for this review because I'm immediately toward the end going, what is Day of the Tentacle?
Oh, are you kidding me? That's one of my favorite old school PC games.
Really? Oh, I've just never heard of that. Okay, because he's like, if you like, old classic gems like Day of the Tentacle. What is that? So I'm not an old school PC gamer at all. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and start this time with Who am I gonna start with? How about Alex?
Okay. I thought this was better than last week. I guess I'll just start by saying that because I think Jack was who we would have kicked off if we had done that the first round. I thought this was an improvement. I gotta, I guess, take responsibility for the weird camera angle and all that because I suggested in my notes to him that he stand up because I thought that might help with his confidence and his ability to project, and I think it did work.
Yeah.
Just sort of the camera's in an odd place. And he doesn't look entirely comfortable then because of the camera placement, so I don't know if it kind of worked at all. But I'm actually a little bit familiar with Grim Fandango. I've at least seen a walkthrough of the game. I didn't feel like his synopsis of it was specific enough. I thought it was way too vague. I also kind of felt like this is just a case where you needed to show stuff, and in particular, given he's reviewing a remaster, you kind of need to show the two sets of graphics kind of side by side to see, okay, is this worth my money? So I just, for me, it was kind of like technical stuff like that, where I felt like this would have just been better overall had it been in a different format.
I'm with you, Alex. I think I'll go ahead and go real quick. I think that it's definitely a vast improvement from last time. He clearly paid attention to what we were saying and tried some things, and I really appreciated that. Would you guys all agree with me if I were to say that this is 100% scripted?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
so. I mean, you can tell he's reading it from below sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. So my question to you guys is that a smarter way for him to go?
No, I have that in my notes, actually. I think he would be better off the cuff, especially with how it could play to kind of his awkward cuteness, you know? Like, I think there's an element to that if he could go off the cuff a little bit, I think could emphasize, you know, kind of that part of his personality.
I think he went scripted because I'm not sure about it. I'm leaning toward scripted might work, but you just need to practice with it more. Because like he clearly listened to us, and he was a little bit all over the place and couldn't decide what words he wanted to use. He was kind of fishing for descriptors in his previous reviews. So when we said, "Hey, you're wasting too much of your 3 minutes, kind of groping for words. Why don't you have more of a plan?" He thought he'd be more comfortable being scripted. I don't think that his awkwardness is completely lost in this, Aaron. I kind of appreciate that he seems a little bit more not and relaxed isn't the right word, but he's definitely more confident because he knows what he's going to say. So I mean that's certainly an improvement. I think honestly all he really needs to do is memorize a couple lines at a time and jump cut more often, and make sure those jump cuts are in the right spots. In between sentences, because the only thing I found distracting, I didn't mind that it was scripted. I thought that he read fine, and the only thing that really didn't work about it was he wouldn't retake when he would flub up lines, and when you're scripted you just have to, and B, he had a lot of places where you could see that he was reading, and I think that is easily camouflaged by just being tighter with your jump cuts, because there were places where I was like, you could have done exactly what you did while you did the take and just cut right, and we never would have seen your eyes move. But B, what Alex is talking about, especially the way he's describing things and what he's talking about, he's reviewing things primarily that I just have got to see something from, and you could really easily cover up a lot of those eye moves just with some images. Manos, what do you think, man?
I like his haircut a lot. And I think overall it was much improved from the previous week. I think he did his best to kind of take the notes that we had given him. I do agree. I like the fact that he tried to do scripted, so he had his thoughts a little bit better. But unfortunately, I felt he was a little more stiff on those. So he did feel a little uncomfortable. I'm trying to think, like, maybe there's certain ways he could get around that, like maybe do a couple of read-throughs on it, or maybe just simply take notes. I mean, sometimes because I work in the same format this guy does, and one camera, no edits or any effects or any kooky fun characters or anything like that. Just me talking to the camera, and when you do that, you really have to make that an advantage and turn it from a disadvantage. You have to get people fascinated in what you're talking about and what your point of view is, because otherwise you could actually get pretty boring if you're not aware of those things. And I really didn't know really much of what this game was about. I'm not sure. I don't know much about it. Like after I watched the video a few times than I did the first time I watched it. So that's a disadvantage, I think.
Manos, I think it's important to note that Manos has proven that you can be lazy as hell and still totally engaging.
That's right.
I think it's important to mention that. What did you think, Lance Fusion?
As I also said, he definitely for improving significantly from his last video. Answer your question, Cap. I agree with that. I would choose him being spit over the myriad crazy.
Lance, we can't hear you at all, pal. You're all over the place, man.
This is my.
Lance, you're cutting in and out so hard that we can't hear anything you're saying. I think I'm gonna eject you and have you call us right back. Can you do that?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. While we're waiting for Lance, let's go ahead and hear from Aaron, and then we'll see if we can get a better connection with Lance. Go ahead, Aaron.
Sure. Couple good things to say in that, yes, there was some improvement. I appreciated that he took the lighting note. I thought the lighting was good. Everything, looked well lit.
Good call.
And I think there was a good confidence to it. Having said that, there were some things we mentioned that he didn't do. One specifically that we've already talked about that I think would have increased the video tenfold, and that's, you guys have already mentioned it, cut-ins. Cut-ins. Like, I think we talk about scripted, you talk about off the cuff, you talk about all that kind of stuff. I just think the simple use of cut-ins for him, for what he does, I'm not saying everybody needs it, but for his style, could really be a benefit. And I was kind of disappointed that we didn't see that this week, considering I think a couple of us specifically mentioned it last time that might be helpful for him. And so that was kind of a bummer. And it's just, I think most of the stuff has been mentioned, the obvious reading, the ending. I don't think, other than you bringing it up at the, right when it happened, was that intentional? Did I miss something? Was that an accident?
I'm almost positive it was an accident. That strikes me as a render mistake or an upload mistake or something.
Well, then you got to fix that, right? I mean,
you got to watch your video before you post it.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I mean, he might have. But then, if it was something that happened on his computer before he uploaded it, how could he have? Because he wouldn't have uploaded it, right?
Yeah, I just think you've got to be able to watch that stuff and look at it and go, you know what, I can do better. Even if it means reshoot it or those kind of things. So overall, disappointed in a lot of ways, but it's definitely improvement. I will echo that everybody else said. Definitely an improvement.
Real quick, and then we'll go to Lance. Aaron, I want to suggest this. I just keep jumping off the stuff that you're saying. I want to suggest this. He seems to really, really resist the idea of putting anything on top of them, and I don't know if, as far as in post, and I don't know if that's because of editing limitations or if because you never get Manos to do it in a million years. So I don't know if it's because I'm just kidding. I don't know if it's because of editing limitations or if it's because he just really likes the vlog style and doesn't want to have to do that. I suggested in my notes to him that perhaps he use more practical props. I thought when he brought up the picture of the orange creature that could be really funny if he did it a lot. That could be all he needs. Print off 10 of those. And make that your visual aid. That could potentially work for him. Do almost like a Carrot Top thing with it.
Or maybe you could have a chart.
Yeah, exactly. Like other sorts of visual aids. I don't mean just that, but you don't have.
You see it right here.
Yeah, exactly. And do this really intentional lo-fi thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. That might help. I mean, again, part of his charm is that, that there's an awkwardness to him. In fact, that was one thing.
That would be really awkward, potentially. Especially if he unfolded it out of his back pocket or something.
Right? I was watching it with my wife, and, as soon as he started, she was like, oh, he's the adorable one. And I was like, yeah, he is, He's super adorable. But I think he could totally take advantage of that in a way if he could find comfort with that, because there comes a point where you cross the line from adorably awkward to uncomfortably awkward, and so I think if you were able to add some stuff in there, he might stay on the adorably awkward side of things.
That's when the charges get pressed.
Lance, I'm sorry I had to press the ejector seat button on you. Go ahead, man.
Okay, so you guys didn't hear anything I said before?
No, not. That's why I hit the big red button.
Okay, I just want to make sure if I need to start over entirely. Yeah, again, like everyone else has said, he definitely deserves congratulations for having improved significantly since last time. And to answer the question you posited before, Cap, I will say I definitely agree that I take a bit of stilted script reading over the crazy amount of jump cuts he had last time any day. I even though it was improvement, I don't know how it was going to hold exactly to great material we've had from the other contestants, though. And since nobody else has mentioned it, I do feel that, again, some of the arbitrary criteria seem kind of, it's time for me to do my arbitrary criteria now. And I think a great example of that is that when he was doing the actual review, he actually got really kind of specific for an element of the game. Like, in order to get into the wine cellar, I have to get my friend drunk and hide in a barrel and do this and do that, and this is part of the review. But then when he jumps into the "yeah, buddy" joke, it's like somebody was about to do something stupid, and it just felt like you just shoved that in there at the last second, didn't you? That really wasn't, you don't have anything specific for that. It just felt like, here's the review, here's the other thing.
Does anybody else?
The "yeah, buddy" point.
Go ahead, Alex.
I just felt like that was dishonest because he says something to the effect of, I literally said out loud, "Yeah, buddy, I don't think that's going to work." It's like, no, you didn't. That was arbitrary criteria. You had to put that in.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't mind. I guess I didn't mind the placement of that as much until you said that, and that's a good point.
As far as kind of the inserts thing go, and him only showing the one picture and stuff like that, I just, again, thinking about it more and thinking about this game, this is a really visually distinct game, and he talks earlier in the review about how all the characters look like their faces got melted off, and that's because they're like skeletons. They're like Mexican Day of the Dead kind of piñata things that are like skeletons, and so that accounts for that. And I don't know if you guys who haven't played the game before, haven't seen anything from the game before, knew that that's what they looked like.
No.
Because I don't think you would have gotten that sense just from hearing this review, and that's a huge part of it.
No,
Wait, this is a video game?
The sense I got from that was that it was like, maybe until he started talking about the visuals again a little bit later, I thought he meant at first, Alex, that meant that they were like kind of visually indistinct, that they were like amorphous faces or something, that you couldn't really tell what you were looking at, and then when he showed. And because he said it was a mid-90s game, I couldn't help but think this. When he showed that one picture, I was like, okay, is that what that looks like in the game? Or is that like the artist rendering that you get in like the booklet about the game? You know what I mean? Because like in the 90s we had a lot of that, where there'd be like a three-dimensional rendering of a thing, but then in the game it doesn't really look like that at all. And I was like, oh, I need to see what this game looks like, because now in my head I have this really skewed idea of what this game is.
Yeah, well, the character that he showed in particular, he says that it's a demon, but like Glottis looks different from every other character in the thing.
Oh, so that doesn't
he's obviously not one of the skeleton people, so it's not really the best example to use, aside from the fact that he's orange, so he needed that for the arbitrary criteria.
Hello, it's me again. Do you want to listen to me do some questions? Because I have to. Question 1. Why did you select the thing you reviewed? Well, I was trying to think of... I looked at the criteria and I was trying to think of how I could put all of those things into a review. What sort of thing I could use to... Yeah. And then I thought of Grim Fandango Remastered because, well, when you were watching the review, a lot of people may have said, oh, that bit didn't happen. But it genuinely did. What I'm talking about is the bit where I was playing the game and someone was about to do something stupid and I said, yeah, buddy, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And that genuinely happened. It might seem a bit like thing I made up to, squeeze that phrase in, but it genuinely happened. So that is why I chose it, because it would be quite... I don't think there are many other topics I could talk about which I'd be able to, squeeze that phrase in. What was the most challenging part of the review? Well, I know it was the 80s action film reference was the hardest, I think, because it was quite hard. I wasn't sure how. It was quite hard to get the reference in, but whilst not making it so obvious that it disrupts the review, but also not subtle enough that people miss it out. And, well, if you did miss it out, what it was the bit where I said where everyone looks like they've had their faces melted off, which is in reference to the original Indiana Jones. And I was trying... Originally I said I mentioned the Ark of the Covenant and stuff, but then I realised that sort of the way I worded it, I just couldn't find a way which wasn't too obvious without so I just stuck with looks like they had their faces melted, which might be a bit too subtle. Next question. What did you enjoy most about this challenge? Oh dear. I don't know. It's just the fact that everything was so random. All the different criteria was so strange. It was quite fun trying to squeeze all of those into one review. It was quite fun to do. If you had more time or could do this review again, is there anything you would do differently? Yes, something I found is, because one of the judges said, well, a few of the judges said that I didn't seem prepared enough, because what I did when I recorded it was, when I recorded the one from last round, I had a post-it note on the camera which had bullet points of what I wanted to say. This time I did a full script of what I wanted to say, but a lot of the, and I had it attached to the camera like that, like just below the lens, but then when I was reading the script, you could see in the video I was sort of looking down, and the fact that I didn't actually know it by heart meant that I couldn't articulate it in a way that, I don't know, it just seemed, I feel like it seemed too scripted, and I didn't want that to happen, because one of the judges said that my sort of awkward nature is a good thing and I can use that to my advantage, but I don't know, basically. How confident are you that you'll be safe from elimination this round? Do you see yourself getting top banana? No, I don't. The thing is, this is probably going to be, if this question is in every round, my answer is probably going to be the same. Well, I mean, if I'm in the later rounds, which I hope I am, it's just, everyone in this competition is very good, and the whole nature of it means that every round, everyone gets better after listening to the criticism and stuff. They will improve, so it's hard to tell, like, and I don't want to be too cocky and be like, oh yeah, I'm the best, aren't I? Yeah, so it's hard to tell. I don't want to get ahead of myself, so yeah, I don't know is my answer. What was the hardest of the random criteria to include? I already mentioned that, didn't I? The thing with the action film quote. Yes, it took a while to well, what I did, I went to Google and typed 80s action films, and there was a massive list, but none of them seemed right, you know. I was thinking of something to do with Day of the Dead, like the Mexican Day of the Dead, which is what a lot of the game is inspired by, but I wasn't sure, I haven't seen the film Day of the Dead, and from what I've heard, it's not so much an action film, more of a horror film, but I don't know because I haven't seen it, so I didn't know. Basically that. So I just did the Indiana Jones thing. How do you feel about your performance this round compared to last round? Amazing. First of all, I'd like to speak about last round. Not my proudest moment. I feel like last round, it was, because a while ago I emailed one of my favourite YouTubers to ask for some advice, and they said something about, use jump cuts, try not to leave any empty space, and then, so, have loads of jump cuts so there's not so much empty space, and that sort of spiraled out of control when, I'd end up cutting out any time I hesitated slightly or anything, and it just spiraled out of control and got to the point it was last round, which wasn't very good. But another thing is the fact that one of the judges said that some of the information wasn't entirely right or wasn't entirely clear. The thing is, I knew what I meant in my head, but the way I said it, obviously it's my fault completely, but the way I said it, basically, people interpreted it differently, and that's because basically I screwed up with how I was phrasing it, and that's why this round I did a script, but it just didn't feel. I don't know. It's what.
All right, moving on to Travis and Crady, Travis and Katie, and they reviewed Starbucks Orange Refresher. They're back to food. Here we go.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Travis and I are trying Starbucks' Orange Refresher. I think it's called Venetian Orange Refresher.
Of course Starbucks wouldn't name it something impossible to say, so when I go and order, I feel like an idiot.
Have you ever actually been to Starbucks?
I've been outside Starbucks. Do you? Do you have it a lot?
I have it every morning.
You have it every morning?
I do.
Why do you have it every morning?
Because I have the need.
Don't say Need for Speed.
The need for speed. Yeah, buddy.
Here it is. Wow. Oh. It's like someone threw an orange at my face and it landed in my mouth.
I don't really like it. I like their other refreshers. It's too orangey for me. Very orangey.
Am I supposed to drink orange peel? Like, cause I had some. Was I supposed to?
I don't know. Hopefully an orange doesn't grow in your stomach. You know, like watermelon seeds, apple seeds growing in your orange peel. Orange.
But why is it so orange? Like, it's an unnaturally orange. Like, that's how I imagine poison to look. Like, literally, that's what Juliet drank to kill herself. She went to a Starbucks and ordered an orange refresher, and literally right before she said to be or not to be, she drank it.
That's the wrong Shakespeare.
No, it's not.
Haven't you read Romeo and Juliet?
I saw Lion King.
That's based off Hamlet, Travis. So, my review on this is, it's very orangey. I don't really particularly like orange drinks, and this is, it kind of leaves like a weird film
Yeah, I think
in the back of your mouth.
I'm really glad that we decided to review Orange Refresher knowing that you didn't like orange drinks. Like, we really chose the right thing to review.
I hadn't tried it before.
It's refreshing.
It is. It's like, I mean, if they had dulled it down a little bit, I would drink this in the summer. Like, while I'm tanning on the beach, I would drink this. Hey, Travis.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad you tried it?
What are you doing?
I'm being funny.
You're... What?
The judges said I could be funny.
No. Oh, okay. Yeah, that was really witty and clever. Good job on that one. That was good. Good job.
Yeah. See, I can be funny.
The judges are wrong every once in a while, right?
They have a sense of humor that is all their own. I know we've said that, but I mean, like, they have reinvented the humor wheel. Let's start with Aaron Dicer. Because Aaron likes things that are more cohesive than this, so I want to know what he thinks. Go ahead, Aaron.
That is the funniest, worst review I've ever seen. That was hilarious and had absolutely zero content. That was again a series of jokes masquerading as a review, right?
No, I don't completely agree with you, but I think that's hilarious that you're saying that.
I counted, okay? There are 4 statements in that entire 3 minutes that could be considered reviewing something, okay? One is that it tastes really orange. Another is
completely orange.
Another is that it's refreshing.
Hey, Alex, does your light go orange?
I think so.
Does it do that? Can you give us a... There it is! Wait. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, buddy.
Hey, look, actually, yeah, buddy, right there. Nicely done.
Yeah.
So one is that it's orange. The other is that it's refreshing. It's called an orange refresher, so we might have got that from the title. The other is, here's what I'll give them credit for. They say it leaves a film in the back of your throat. It's almost as an aside, but it's in there, so I counted that one. And then there was one more that I've totally forgotten at this point. But I gotta tell you, they are really, really funny. And as far as like doing a YouTube channel and like talking about stuff, oh my goodness, go for it. I subscribe. Like, I love it. As far as this contest goes, it's just hard for me to call it a review. Now, part of that might be the fact that it's about food, and food is difficult sometimes. But yeah, there's just not enough substance for me there. The other thing is, you can make a joke about picking something that that you're naturally predisposed not to like or whatever. That still doesn't relieve the fact that that probably wasn't a good idea to pick something like that when you're predisposed, to actually hate it. So anyhow, that's, like I said, hilarious stuff, but I didn't find any review content in it.
Aaron, and it's funny too, because for the standards of object and food reviewing on YouTube, it's pretty up to par. I mean, like, it is. They got as much done in 3 minutes that I see a lot of people do in 12. Go ahead, Manos.
I would have to agree a little bit with that. That is the advantage of having a kind of fun, humorous, light feel to a video. The fact that they can play off each other. So they could kind of get away with, like, forgetting to review the thing they're reviewing. I mean, if you're right. I mean, there were only a few basic statements. It might have been interesting for them to review the entire experience of going to Starbucks and get this orange refresher.
That's
I mean,
really interesting.
How well organized the Starbucks they went into. I mean, did they go in to the Starbucks during the Race Together week? So, I mean, when they were handed their drink, did the person behind the counter go, "Well, here's your orange refresher. Hey, how about that Ferguson?" Did they have to deal with that? But I can forget all of that because it's fun listening to them talk about the experience together, even if they're like enjoying each other's backwash mixed up with the orange refresher there. I do kind of want to get that now, though. Just watching them drink that thing over and over again.
Go ahead, Lance.
Oh God, I don't know if I can stop laughing talking about this. But I can back off of what Aaron said. I almost put my own notes that I was swinging about what they would do, or how they would handle more substantive challenges. Because it does seem like they're kind of free association. Even until there's definitely scripting going on, the way they do things might not work very well with, say, a novel or a movie. That's I do think worked okay with food, just because it isn't a visceral experience. And I defy anyone to say threw orange into my face and landed in my mouth is not a description of drink I've ever heard before. I mean, that sort of 90s extreme surge commercial or something, But to try and take this away from what I said already, I don't know if you guys were last time I did make not really complaint, but more of a warning that I was kind of afraid in the last video Travis might get a little bit overwhelmed by his personality. And if they were listening, they really addressed that really clearly, because it wasn't just 30 seconds of Katie at the beginning. It was Katie, Travis. They were both equal screen time.
Yeah.
Equal talk. They shared this video great verbally with their content. Well, the one thing that threw me off a little bit, though, now that since I said that, is the weird for me, I thought. It's a weird thing to be complaining about, but usually they split center. She's on one side, she's on another. Here, it's like she's almost in the center, and he's kind of off in a corner somewhere. And content reflected that I'd be really worried about that. And thankfully, as I said, they both are in video equally. He's just kind of off there. I don't know why their camera's way over here. But it was fun. Again, I'm a little bit worried about what they're going to do if they can't do food. But it was hilarious.
All right, go ahead, Alex.
I'm pretty much on the same page as Aaron. I thought this was incredibly entertaining and isn't actually about anything. I don't even entirely know what an orange refresher is. Like, is it juice? Is it lemonade but with oranges?
You win.
It's from Starbucks. Does it have caffeine in it? How much does it cost? Is this a new product? Is it just a seasonal thing? There's so many things they could have told us, but I didn't get any of it.
I have a hard time not immediately, when I watch a thing like this, going to, like giving people a pass, because there's just not a lot to say about a thing like this. So you're not reviewing it so much to be really critical as you are to kind of do this sort of demonstrative kind of review. It's this really light thing where you're like, because I mean, Vince and I do this with Snackvolution, and I don't know that there's as much content when we do that as when we do other things, because how can there be? Sometimes we go way too far, so I don't know. But
would you and Vince do Snackvolution if you were a part of this contest? I think it was a wrong choice.
Almost certainly not. At the same time, it was also, I think, for them a safe choice. Because the kind of reviewing they're doing, and remember that last time, I thought this was really telling, they put up that title card at the end of their video that said, we have no idea what we're doing. And I think they really think that, and I think they I think that they're running with that as a motif. And I think that what they're doing right now is they're building a brand that might work great for a YouTube channel that is not real conducive to what we do on the show. And I think that's the tough thing, is that I don't know how well they're competing, but I think they are potentially, if they go with this short format, and I think 3 to 5 minutes works really well for them. Just like I did with Good Plot. I think, except that I think that we're likely to see some good 6-7 minute videos from Good Plot, and I think that these guys want to do more simple stuff so that they can focus more on the humor. I said in my notes, and Aaron kind of said this too, that if they put up a video like this every week where they tried a new food, I would watch it every week. I'd watch it every week. I think it's hilarious. I think it's really entertaining. But when we give them more substantial stuff, what's that gonna look like? And that's the big thing I'm concerned about with them. They are some of the most amusing and entertaining and like original in their approach competitors we've ever had in this contest. But it's about 15% review.
Yeah, I have no doubt that they'll be incredibly successful outside of who reviews the reviewers. I just kind of think within it, not so much.
Yeah, I can see why you're saying that. Again, I gave them a pass a little bit because of the subject matter, but Alex, you're absolutely right. I mean, like, I think I was taken in a little bit because you're right. What kind of drink is it? I mean, there was more they could actually discuss about it. But let me ask you this: if they focus more, does it ruin their dynamic?
It doesn't have to.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So it's up to them.
Hello.
Hello. So here's our questionnaire for round 2.
But they know what it is.
You always do that. You did that last video.
It's in the section of questionnaires for round 2.
So why did you pick this subject for your review? Because I wanted to try the new refresher.
Yeah, well, this was like the hardest week.
Just picking wise.
Like, it took us way too long to choose. Like,
we were arguing a lot.
Yes.
I wanted to do something completely different than what Travis wanted to do.
Yes.
Then we figured it out. I was like, hey, they have an orange drink, and since we have to put orange in it, let's just do a drink.
Yeah, and you wanted a reaction video, and that was a thing.
Oh, that's true. I did. I wanted a reaction. He's never had Starbucks, so I wanted him to. I forced him to have Starbucks. What was the hardest part of this video? I don't really think anything was that hard.
Choosing it was the hardest part, I think, yeah.
But once we chose it, it kind of flowed together. Everything came together really well, I think.
Yeah.
So it was just picking it was the hardest part.
Yeah.
Because we kept arguing over what to do.
A lot.
What would you do differently if you had to do it all over again? I don't know. I really actually enjoyed this video.
I haven't seen it, but I changed my answer. I saw the video.
He did see the video.
I guess I didn't look at the camera very much
during the video. In my defense, I was feeling sort of sick that day.
He just got over the flu, so...
And that's also why I'm dressed like a
hobo.
Next time I'm gonna look at the camera, but too much. Like, I'm just gonna, like, stare.
Just stare
at, like, you're gonna feel like I'm staring at you. Like, and judging you.
We followed the judge's criticism.
Yeah.
And fixed...
Well... They pretty much said to be more, like, organized and things, which pretty much just mean, like, a lot of what I did got shoved, like, I didn't do that much on this video.
You did.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
We just had to slim your stories down a little bit.
My stories, my jokes. Okay.
You still got jokes in.
I got a couple in. When we needed, like, a random thing.
I turned to Travis.
Yes. That was mine. So I did a lot less on this video than the last couple ones. Anyways.
Do you think we'll get Top Banana? Well, we already have Top Banana.
Whoa.
No, because we're still Top Banana.
Why do we have Top Banana still?
Because I publicized it on Facebook and made all of my friends vote for us.
See, she's a girl. That's an unfair advantage.
What does being a girl have to do with anything?
Girls have more friends than guys. Because girls, it's like...
I don't have more friends than you. I just have...
Yeah, I know that. But generally, girls...
That's sexist. That's sexist.
No, I think everyone would agree that girls have more friends than guys.
We're just more sociable.
No.
Yeah?
No, it's because if there's, like, a girl, like, alone in the room, like, people are gonna go talk to the girl who's alone.
I go talk to people
But if there's a guy at the corner, no one's gonna go talk to him.
Do you stand in the corner?
Yeah, I stand in the corner I face the corner. I don't face the room. I just stand facing the corner of every room I go into.
The corner is his friend.
Like, if I ever am in a circular room, I'm so lost. I'm like, what am I doing here?
What do I stare
I don't know
at?
where to go.
What was the hardest of the random criteria to include?
I think...
I don't know.
I like our Romeo and Juliet. I like that.
That was
bit.
yours.
That's a funny joke.
You came up with that bit. Because he came up with it, he was saying it to me, and I was like, that's Hamlet. And he was like, that's going in.
That was the reason I wanted to do this thing, because you're like, I was like, yeah.
The thing he wanted to do, that's why he wanted to do.
That's what convinced me to do the Orange Refresher review. That Romeo and Juliet joke.
Yeah.
She literally...
That's true. That's true. I said you could always just add poison into it, and he came up with that joke, and that was the only reason why he agreed to this.
She literally went to Starbucks and bought an Orange Refresher. I think it's a really funny joke. Oh, the Top Gun joke.
Oh yeah, I really wanted Need for Speed.
You really wanted Need for Speed in there.
Because the one that before Orange Refresher, I wanted to do the music video from Top Gun because I wanted to do the Need for Speed joke.
And I was very against it.
I was against yours too.
I know. Anyway, so she really wanted a Need for Speed reference in there.
Because I love Top Gun.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go over now to Squatch Gang. He reviewed Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
I wouldn't be the first moviegoer to say that Alien vs. Predator Requiem is a bad movie. But why is that? What elements caused this film to turn out so horribly wrong?
Well, it probably has a lot to do with the fact that the directors Colin and Greg Strauss had never directed a movie before this, and sadly, you can really tell. The movie opens to an alien-predator hybrid, aka the Pred Alien, causing a predator ship carrying facehuggers to crash in the woods near a small American town. The facehuggers escape and begin to do their thing, resulting in an alien infestation that a single predator is trying to stop. Pretty simple premise, but the problems with this film begin to surface when we get to the action scenes. See anything wrong here? Oh yeah, that's right. It's so dark you cannot see anything. What is going on in any of these shots? Is this like the evolution of shaky cam? We can call it darky cam. And this doesn't seem intentional because in these scenes, whatever we are looking at is in the center of the shot, but we still can't see it. And isn't this the whole point of the entire movie? To see aliens fighting Predator?
For all we know, the alien and Predator could be making out right now. How would that work?
And it's not like this movie has great human characters to fall back on either. We have Pizza Boy, Policeman, Pizza Boy's older brother Dallas, Ripley and Newt knockoffs, Hot Girl, and Bully Guy. They're all just generic and forgettable. And this is really a shame because arguably the best part of the Alien and Predator franchises was the characters. Naming this guy Dallas just because there was a character in Alien named Dallas doesn't make me like him more. The movie also spends way too much time focusing on Pizza Boy's crush on Hot Girl, and their relationship ain't no Romeo and Juliet. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand? Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek. And the dialogue in this movie isn't any better. Sometimes it's so badly written that it seems like perhaps they wrote the script in the same dark lighting conditions that the movie was filmed in, so they couldn't see what they were writing. Like in this one scene, Policeman and Dallas are trying to decide whether their group of survivors should head to the center of town and wait for a military evac to rescue them, or head to the hospital and try to escape the town in a helicopter on the roof. They can't agree, so part of the group goes with Policeman to the center of town, and the rest goes with Dallas to the hospital. But before they part ways, Policeman says to Dallas, "I hope we're both wrong." Why would he say that? Does he mean that he hopes both groups fail to escape the town and that they all die? If I were Dallas, I'd be like, "Thanks, jerk, I hope you get your face nuked off." Oh wait, that actually happens. But I have to admit that I really do appreciate this movie's use of practical effects and monster costumes instead of an overuse of CGI. It's just too bad that we can't really see the costume designer's hard work. Guess they really left him in the dark on that one.
It may seem as if I'm being too hard on this movie. I mean, after all, what would you expect from a film called Alien vs. Predator Requiem? But that's the problem, because the movie doesn't even live up to that. So I have no other option but to give Alien vs. Predator Requiem 1 squatch out of 6.
This movie sucks.
Yeah, buddy. I know.
Aaron, start us out, pal.
Sure. I have very little bad to say about this. I love this review. I think it's funny. I think he brings out very salient points about the movie, and to think of a movie like this, to review it with that much content, I thought was great. I love him on screen. I think he's got a very expressive tone and face. I also liked that his when he's talking over stuff, his audio is the same quality as when he's on screen. That's not always easy to pull off. I mean, there are easy ways to do it, but a lot of people don't think of that, and I appreciated that. I love that it felt very consistent. Again, I mentioned it's very funny, and it's more than just the jokes. It's the delivery and his overall sense of humor. He just has a really good sense of humor. The only thing I could think of that I didn't like, and you alluded to it, Cap, is that it's so dark during a lot of this video. But again, that's the point he's trying to make. I just wonder if he could have made it with a few less of those cuts to dark stuff, because those are just lost. Like, there's nothing going on there. Once you make that point, maybe move on to something else. But that's nitpicking for me. Overall, this is one of my favorites definitely this week.
Aaron, have you seen that movie?
I have not.
I haven't either, and what I'm wondering is if part of the deal was there just wasn't enough else to cut to. Like, he's using images from the film. Maybe most of it looks like that, and I mean, yeah, he's talking when he's talking about the human characters. There's a little bit more light when you've got human characters, but the problem is when he's talking about the actual Alien versus Predator stuff, which is the reason you're there, to show you Alien and Predator, it's got to look that dark. I don't know how he'd fix it.
No, I agree, and that's why I say. But that was really the only thing I thought of. I should also mention his arbitrary criteria were awesome. I thought the way he integrated that stuff was great. I think it was the best "yeah, buddy" of any of the videos, as far as I'm concerned. And his delivery on that makeout line, I just think it was great. I really like this one.
Manos.
Here's my favorite line in the whole video.
Oh God.
Movie sucks. God, I laughed at that. I have to agree with Aaron. This is very funny. This is one of the best videos we have this week, easy. Primarily because, it's very funny, but boy, the humor comes out of what is wrong with the movie. There were very few jokes that I felt were too arbitrary, just for there to be jokes, which, to be honest, isn't so bad. But, man, everything really hit what was wrong with this flick. And, it's, I think this is mid-2000s film. And, I'm really glad he hit on not just the bad lighting in the film. And I've seen the film, it is really bad lighting. I mean, it makes Batman Begins look like Grease as far as lighting is concerned. And, but it does one of the things that just frustrates me so much is these kind of modern B-movie casting actors where everyone is so interchangeable and boring. Oh, and boy, he hits it right there, like Pizza Boy and Hot Girl and Pizza Boy's dad or something like that. Oh my god. It was really good.
Purple Man.
I really don't have anything to add. I love this. I've liked Squatch Gang since really the beginning, since his submission. So I just gotta say ditto, more or less. I love this.
Lance.
In terms of the challenge, because we are focused on reviews, because obviously this is a review contest, since this is also a specific challenge, which is incorporating this arbitrary criteria, I have to hold this video up as the best use of doing that. And I think in general there are 3 levels of being able to put this stuff into your videos, and the first is it just feels completely obligatory. This one where I say this. The second tier is having it be relatively seamless, where it just happens, you don't really notice it, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just kind of there. And then there's this tier, which is having this criteria in there makes the video better than it otherwise would have been, where someone actually takes that and uses it to make a better video. It really incorporates it, and I think Squatch Gang did that superbly. And again, as I said, that was the absolute best one of anything done so far. And just being able to put that into a very, very good, solid review without anything feeling out of place, it's hilarious and wonderful and great, and I have really nothing negative to say about that.
Guys, this kid is sharp. We give him the criticism last time of it'd be really nice to have something at the end of your video, some kind of visual to go with your rating system. He gives us a full-blown logo! I mean that's fantastic. I mean, like, not just an improvement, but just all right. You went above and beyond. You could have just written a number, and I would have been happy. But he's just like, phew, it's stars, and I hope he keeps using that. I really love the idea of not only having, and the 6-point rating system is so random, but I really like the idea of right in the middle of it having a phrase that sums up the whole thing. And I think that's really cool. This is near flawless, man. I've just got nothing negative to say. I was really sucked in, and it's hilarious. But as Manos said, and that was really profound comment, Manos, that he's that all of his comedy is coming from the material, so it almost writes itself, but not in a bad way.
What up? So I got the questions here again, and I'm going to answer them for you again. So why did I pick this subject for review? Well, I chose to review Alien vs. Predator Requiem because, 1, I absolutely love Alien and Predator. 2, it's a movie, and that's the kind of thing that, I would be reviewing outside this competition, is movies. That's what I plan to do in the future, is review movies. So I wanted to, this time, since we had the option to pick what we wanted, I wanted to pick a movie to review. So also, I also wanted to review something that I didn't really think was good, because last time I reviewed something that I liked. This time, I thought the Star Wars website was a good website. I thought it was really well made, and I liked it, surprisingly. This time I wanted to review something that I didn't like, just so I could, kind of give a different type of review. Last time I was kind of talking about something that I like. This time it's something that I don't like, and I wanted to, mix it up, not just do things I liked or didn't like, just, mix it up, I guess. So, yeah. What was the hardest part of making this review? Probably the hardest part was probably getting everything that I wanted to say about this movie into 3 minutes. I could talk about this movie for literally a day, like multiple days probably, but I wanted to, get the main points, condense that into a 3-minute long video, which that's probably the hardest part, deciding what should be kept in, what should be left out. Yeah, that was probably the hardest part. What would I do differently if I had to do it over again? If I had to do it over again, I'd probably tweak the lighting a bit. The lighting was serviceable and wasn't bad, but it wasn't quite how I wanted it to be. I'm not experienced with lighting videos. I'm learning, but I'm not super experienced with that. So, if I could go back and do it again, that's probably what I would tweak. Just the lighting a little bit on like the sections where I'm in front of the camera. That's probably it. So, do I think I'll get Top Banana? I am not expecting to get Top Banana. I think it's totally possible. Maybe a slight better chance of getting Top Banana this week than last week, but I'm not really expecting to get Top Banana, and if I don't, I'm not gonna be like surprised, like what? But it's always a possibility, and if it happens, that's awesome. If it doesn't, then oh well. What was the hardest of the random criteria to include? The hardest of the random criteria to include was probably the pun, because you had to come up with a pun. Which, sometimes that's really easy, like it'll just come to you, and sometimes you have to think about it for a while, and it kind of came to me pretty quickly, but I didn't know where to put it. You have to work that into the review where you're going to put that pun, which, making that fit in the review, I guess, is probably the hardest of the random criteria to include. How do I feel about my performance this round compared to last? I am pretty satisfied, I guess. I got a lot of good criticism from the judges last round. So this round, a lot of that stuff they said was super helpful, and just super oh my god, why did I not think of that, stuff like that. So I feel good about my performance this round compared to last round, because a lot of the things that the judges asked me to improve upon, I tried my absolute best to try to improve upon, and if I succeeded at any of that, then I guess it's an improvement as a whole. So I'm pretty happy with my performance this round compared to last, I guess. So yeah, that's it, guys. See you later. Peace out.
Let's move on now to, who is this? Mr. Cool, who reviewed Dragon's Lair 3D. Here we go.
It was once said by Shakespeare, "Come not between the dragon and his wrath." Well, I honestly wish Dirk the Daring would have followed that advice. Then maybe he wouldn't have had to go through all the hardships of Dragon's Lair 3D, Return to the Lair. Dragon's Lair 3D was developed by Dragonstone Software and released by Ubisoft in 2002. It is a remake of the original Dragon's Lair, but instead of being a quick-time event-heavy game like the original, it's an action-adventure game. The game has the same plot as the original Dragon's Lair. Save Princess Daphne, the princess with the most revealing outfit not in an M-rated game, from the castle of the evil wizard Mordok and Singe the Dragon. First, let's move on to some positives. The game looks fantastic, especially for the time it was released, using cel-shaded graphics to replicate the look of the original game perfectly in 3D. They also replicated the original game great. Most, if not all of the original levels from the original game are here, and what's more, they added to it, which is what you want to do if you want to give people incentive to buy your game. I have to commend the developers for that. If I were to judge the game on its visuals alone, it would score very highly with me. However, every video game also needs good gameplay, and that's where this game falls apart in my eyes. Now, I'm not talking about the idea behind the game, turning the original Dragon's Lair into more of a game than it originally was, instead of just being a pretty much point-and-click game, now having it be a regular sword adventure game, more similar to The Legend of Zelda. That could work fine. I'm talking about the controls. Here are the standard controls for an action game on the GameCube. A for jump, B for attack, Y for a special or stronger attack, and X to grab things. Dragon's Lair 3D decides to be a bit different. Instead of your typical control scheme of the A button jumping, it's Y. B targets enemies, A attacks, and X blocks. Another problem I have with the game are its physics, or more specifically, how you jump. Unless you jump a very certain way, you will only jump straight up. Fine for going up ledges, but under most circumstances you're jumping from platform to platform, or from rope to rope, which makes it hard to make the exact jump, and you will fall and die. a lot. There are also a lot of instances where something can just kill you right out of nowhere. That works for the original Dragon's Lair because it's nothing more than move in the direction it wants you to go. But for a game like this, you need more of a warning, a way to avoid it without getting yourself killed. Finally, the sword combat isn't very good at all. With most enemies, you won't be able to hit them without getting hit yourself if you're just using your sword. And a few minor things. 1. Nice grammatical error there, guys. And I have to ask, why is the game called Return to the Lair when it's a remake and not a sequel? If the game would shorten itself a little bit, give you the option to change the controls to how you'd like, gave you a way to avoid the instant death surprises, and improve the combat just a little bit, I would have given it a higher score. But as it is, it stands at a 4 out of 10.
Hey, you shut up. I like that game.
Oh yeah, buddy? Well, for me, Dragon's Lair 3D was quite the drag on me.
I think that there's a little bit too much afterthought stuff going on in adding text to the review. Like there's kind of some overcompensation where I think a little bit of that sometimes you can get away with when it's just kind of an enhancement thing, and of course we talked about this a lot last year when we had Alex's first video. Alex is over there going I know what he's gonna talk about, But with stuff like that, and as much as I wasn't sure if it was cheating with you, Alex, where I was like, okay, you got 2 minutes, and you put like 6 minutes of content because of all the extra stuff. With this, okay, so with what he did, more of that felt kind of intentional, where it was almost like maybe it was scripted that way. With this, it felt like it really comes off like, oh, here are things I really wish I had mentioned in the first place, and you almost wish he would just go back and add things to the script and maybe re-record and start the editing process over. What do you guys think about that? That was really glaring to me this time.
That kind of thing can be a little frustrating because to constantly, read like paragraphs and stuff like that while they're trying to pay attention to the video. I mean, I always have to stop and pause the video so I can watch that, so I can read that stuff.
But I think some of it's also just really unnecessary, right? Like when he says, like when he's looking at the controls, and he says the controls are really awkward. Yeah, we get it. You're talking about that. I feel like he's afraid that he's not making his points clear enough, and it comes off as overcompensation. Let's start with Lance this time.
Another really weird thing that stuck out in my head. I don't know if if you sampled this from the game itself, but the music really made a weird move for this one for me. It's really good music and it's really epic, but I felt like I was watching like a Rescue 911 reenactment instead of a video game review. Just so serious and so overbrought that I felt like I was supposed to cry at the end of this. Wow. It just seems so tonally dissonant to the content. But that said, there was some good stuff in this review. I did enjoy it. I like his cutaways because obviously he's not using video in this. So the only way he's able to get any animation shown by putting himself on camera. So I thought that having do the sword swings and do the jumping animation was both a good workaround for that and also pretty cool. I'm not really sure about that grammar bit thing. I had an annotation on obviously where he sort of corrected himself, but that if that was obviously seemed a mistake, it should have been something found in the editing process and cut out. It's kind of sloppy, being the way it is right now.
Yeah.
So there's some good content in there, but it just there were some weird choices in post that kept it from being as good as it could have been. And that last joke at the end, I thought, ended really abruptly, so I couldn't read that text at all. I don't know.
It's just, I don't know. Manos!
Yes!
Tell me things! Tell me things!
Yes, things!
Okay!
I just want to back up on what I said about the overuse of annotations. The one with the grammar particularly for this video, was a little troubling for me because you wanted to just edit out your mistakes. I don't know. That's just my thing. Other than that, I did think the video was overall pretty good. My favorite joke is the pun at the end, done as an 80s sitcom freeze frame ending. If he ever does that again, I may want to suggest putting fake producer credits over your face.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
The cutaways, including himself, was pretty good. Like the swordplay and the attempts to show what it's like for the figure to jump. The video game nerd occasionally does stuff like that. Just nice visuals. In case I haven't played the game, that I could kind of get a hang of what you're trying to get across. And I think he explains the game very well. So there's that.
Aaron Dicer.
The positive things I would say are all repeats of what other people said, the visual examples, that he does a good job breaking down the content. Couple negatives that I haven't heard anybody say. One, I was just talking about audio consistency with Squatch Gang. There's a lot of audio inconsistency here, different volumes and different tones, and that always catches my ear. Also, there's a little bit of contradiction in the review, I thought, with the amount of levels. Like, at one point he's saying that he loves that they added a bunch of levels, and then another point he's saying it's too long and there's too many levels. And, like, that kind of thing stands out to me because I think you kind of have to decide if that's in the good column or the bad column, unless you specifically talk about how it's both good and bad. So that kind of, stood out to me a little bit. Other than that, pretty much all I would have to say is a repeat. Like Manos said, I would say it's pretty good. It's a pretty good review.
Well, and again, some of that seemed like second guessing, right? Because
exactly,
he wasn't,
that's exactly the feel.
He wasn't talking as much about it being too long. He put that on the screen. He said 250 levels is too many at almost exactly the same time as he was praising it for that. So, I think the problem is that he's kind of arguing with himself. He's like he wrote a script and then he thought about it. Well, and I've done this. Like, you're in the editing room and you're like, you know what? I don't even know if I agree with myself anymore. You've got to go in. You've got to go in and change it. Or add a line or something. Like, a lot of the time, my rewinds are usually several like a strung together audio recordings. Because sometimes I'll go back in. If you look at my files, I have a lot of things where it'll say something like Batman Begins like 4, 5, 6, 7, where extra stuff I have to add to the script. And I just think you have to do that or start over.
Yeah, I think that's it. And one other thing I wanted to say, since it is the challenge, the arbitrary criteria, I thought this was an example of how not to do it at the end, because it was all very obvious, and it was all it didn't fit with the review. It didn't really say anything about the review. I think like 3 of the arbitrary criteria he stuffed in at the end in that little addendum. And so I wanted to mention, like, as I look at kind of the goal of the challenge, I think this was one of the worst videos as far as doing the arbitrary criteria.
It was, and that's unfortunate because I like the review overall.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Alex, I want to say you haven't had the floor yet.
Yeah, I'm mostly just going to echo what everyone else has said. I'm totally in agreement there, particularly about the arbitrary criteria. I didn't think they were integrated particularly well. Most of my issues are just kind of like small, nitpicky, technical things. Like, I think he's really affable and likable, and overall, like, the review is actually pretty well written. It's just kind of, like you said, Cap, he's second-guessing himself with some of the tech stuff on screen. I think his Ken Burns effects could be significantly less aggressive, and he could use more of a longer cross dissolve between them, because it just makes, I feel like it's almost too fast-paced in that I'm not really getting any chance to rest at any point in the video. So just kind of like do something to provide a little bit more structure there. Maybe have some images that do take up the whole screen and don't require the Ken Burns effect, even if it's just there for a few seconds. My issues are really just technical things, because overall, like, I did like this.
On the other hand, I think that he improved a lot in the editing, in that he's got more variation in the way he does his moves. Because I suggested that it gets a little bit predictable and trance-inducing when you're just moving right to left and up and down, and he's now going in and out, and it's not all over the place. I think all of that was pretty natural.
Yeah, so clearly he's listening, and it's just he just needs a little bit more polish.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't help but wonder if he knew about the NES version of this game, and I was kind of surprised that he didn't bring that up. And I wondered if I wouldn't have liked this review less had I not already known a little bit about the franchise. I don't know if you can even call this a franchise, but this property, because I've heard Angry Video Game Nerd talk about it, and the whole like weird jump thing and all of that was all in the NES game, and a lot of the problems with the game seem to be holdovers from another really, really terrible game, and I was surprised he didn't bring that up. Anybody have anything else they want to say? I actually think this is a better review than we're letting on. Personally, I agree. I feel like a lot of what we said have been negatives, and I think a lot of that is because a lot of our positive is stuff that we kind of expect them to keep doing from last time.
I totally agree. Plus, a lot of our positives are the same, and so we're not going over those again. We're just hitting the negatives. At least that was the case with me. But I agree. I think it's a pretty good review.
I just don't want it to sound lopsided. I think we're all in agreement that he is improving, if not somewhat incrementally.
Oh yeah, I completely enjoyed the review.
Hello there, this is just me, Ben, not Mr. Cool the character, doing another interview section for Who Reviews the Reviewers. So the questions you have to ask me, let me find out what they are, and I apologize for the quality of the camera. I'm using the webcam this time as opposed to my regular camera just because I'm on a bit of a tight schedule, so I'll see what I can do here. I picked the subject for my review because Dragon's Lair 3D is just a game I really remember, and I have a lot to say about it. As it says in the description, it's the worst game I ever played. So I figured I'd get my hands at it, try something a little different than, a movie or a TV show or a website again. I figured it'd be nice to give it a try to, and I think I succeeded. The hardest part was definitely cutting it down to the 3-minute mark, because it's just, like I said, I have a lot to say about that game, and I mean a lot. I could go on for hours about the problem with the controls, the gameplay, all that stuff. So cutting it down and trying to make my point, and make my point very clear to the people in 3 minutes was harder than I thought it'd be. I am happy with what I had, though, and I was also happy with how I fit all of the criteria into the video. So, yeah. If what I do differently, if I had more time, and if I could do it differently, I probably would just, extend it a bit more, probably like maybe 5 or even 10 minutes. Just more so trying to make my point more clear about why I didn't like the game, and I probably would have fixed the one issue I had with the grammatical error, because the thing is, as I said in the annotation on the video, I realized it was a mistake on my part, because on the GameCube version, there is a grammatical error, but that was the Xbox version that I got a screen cap of, so didn't work out that well in my favor, and I apologize for that. Probably one of the only things I changed, though. And I think the rest of the video was fine. Turned out alright. No, once again, I don't think I'll be getting Top Banana. I've seen the other videos, and, one of them, Connor Nielsen, his video on Birdman, that was fantastic. The way that he filmed the review, he should be getting Top Banana for that especially. It's just, it worked out really well in his favor, and I was really, really happy with his video. Because I just was a dude in front of a camera just doing my normal shtick. He actually went out of his way and did something pretty damn good, so he definitely should be getting something. Hardest part of the random criteria would probably be adding in the 80s movie reference, considering I just added it in as a sentence on the bottom. I had intended to actually add that in as spoken dialogue, but A, I ran out of time, and B, I just forgot when I was filming, and so it was really hard to find a spot to fit that word exactly in, and make it not seem as, I guess you could say, out of place, although it kind of does seem out of place the more I think about it. But hey, it turned out okay in the end of things.
And my performance, I think I did a little bit better this time. I mean, the biggest thing that was the criticism, from what I remember, was my editing skills, and I mess up on editing every once in a while. And I think I fixed that. I fixed all my editing issues that I had. Like I didn't do as many wipes and, ups and downs and pans, and fixed the little issue at the end. So I guess I could say I did a little bit of a better job, but I'm definitely working to do better every time, and I'll definitely be working to do better every time, like for sure. Thank you guys once again. Yeah, I'm hoping that this isn't the last week I see you. See y'all next week if everything works out good.
Okay, moving on to Jack's channel of stuff. And
Jack's channel of stuff.
Jack's channel of stuff. I'm looking at the wrong video here.
Don't you mean Samurai Jack's channel of stuff?
That's true, Samurai. Man, I was going to be consistent with that, and I completely forgot about it. Darn it! Okay,
That's what I'm here
so thanks, Aaron. Aaron's my editor.
No, I'm your running gag judge. That's all.
Oh, you're okay. You just edit my running gags. That's
all I do.
You just follow behind me with a pad and paper, and you say, you should have said this. Okay.
Exactly.
Here comes Samurai Jack's channel stuff, talking about Stand By Me. Here we go.
Stand By Me. So Stand By Me came out in 1986, and it's a film about 4 boys who basically go on kind of a road trip but on foot to go find a dead body so they can get famous. Now me personally, I love this film, not just because it's a nostalgic film because I watched it when I was a younger kid, but it's just a really good character growth bonding film. I mean, these 4 kids, they work extremely well together and they have so good chemistry, it's just crazy. I mean, each of these kids, some of them are damaged apart from Vern, who's kind of like the sensible one, if you will. He's like, no, I don't want to do that, no, we're going to get caught. And the other guys are like, yeah, let's do it. And Ted is just like, shh, stand back, man. Plus all the actors are top notch in this film. Lair Phoenix is great as Chris, Will Wheaton is awesome as Gordy, Corey Feldman is awesome as Teddy, and Jerry O'Connell, is that his name? He's great as Vern as well. They're just like the perfect actors for this film. You just can't picture anyone else playing these roles from that time anyway. Now what really hits this film home are just basically these scenes, particularly in the last half of the film, where they're just sat around and they're just talking about their problems to each other. I mean, they're just crying, they're getting everything off their chest. I mean, it's like Bruce just once said, a friend should bear his other friend's infirmities. Absolutely true, these guys. They deal with their friends' problems and they're just supporting them like, yeah buddy, I got you, don't worry. We are there for you all the time, and I love that about this film. I mean, yes, some of the like crying stuff around the campfire, some of it does feel a bit forced at times, but it does kind of fit with the film as well, because you just need to find out these characters do have damage. They're not perfect kids. They come from really bad backgrounds and their family don't care about them, especially those scenes where Gordy's sat around the table, he's asking his dad to pass the potatoes or something, and his dad's just completely, utterly ignoring him. And it's just like, it's kind of sad to watch actually how mistreated he gets, because Gordy's like the main character. You don't see that with the other kids, but you do like hear about it. But it does fit well with the characters, and it does flow well into the overall film. If a teenager watches this film today, you'll probably say it's boring, but trust me, this film is not an action-packed film. There's no terrorists invading any Nakatomi Plaza in this film. This film is simply a character journey with these 4 kids going off to find this dead body so they can get famous while discovering themselves along the way. Plus a couple of intense scenes as well, like when they're running away from the train on the bridge, the train's like so close behind them, and the train comes so close to just derailing their whole journey, and it's just really intense. You're like, come on, run away. You just like, come on, just telling them. You kind of feel like the 2 guys at the end of the bridge shouting like, go on, move your ass, man, run. So in the end, Stand By Me, for me, it's a nostalgic film. The 4 kids are amazing together. The character growth is great. The around the campfire scenes, and they're doing all the crying and character growth stuff. I really like seeing that. It's just entertaining as well. The dialogue's really good. I love the soundtrack, it's great. Kiefer Sutherland as well was good as Ace, like the bad guys going after them until like the last half of the film. So this film has lots of elements that combine to make a really good 80s film. One of my favourite films of the 80s for me personally. So have you seen Stand By Me? What are your thoughts about it? Leave a comment and be sure to subscribe to my channel for more stuff coming soon.
I felt kind of middle of the road on this one. Didn't really wow me. I wasn't hugely disappointed in it. My main point, I think, is just if your reviewing style is more off the cuff, and it's an older film, and particularly one that you've seen since childhood, I just sort of expect you to know more what you're going to say than he did in this. Because I felt like he was a little bit all over the place at times and kind of stumbling over himself and not knowing what he wanted to say.
Aaron, do you agree with that?
I do. I think it's double-edged sword, though. I mean, I think I think there's a good part to that in that he does cover a lot of ground, but you're right. He doesn't necessarily cover that ground very evenly in many ways. So it feels like a lot of times the review is grasping. I think for me, when I see him, I think he does a good job delivering on camera. Maybe it's a small thing. I don't know. I'd like to see a more interesting background. I'd like to see him use like some inset graphics when he's talking too. That's something we haven't seen from a lot of people. I think Squatch uses it pretty well, but using graphics like beside you, not necessarily just covering you up or not at all. I think inset graphics would work really well for his style.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it might be something you might want to look at. Other than that, I like his delivery. I think he's got a really keen sense of delivery. He kind of knows his personality and he knows what he's doing. But there is something about it that feels just a little stale. There's just not a lot going on, and so that brings it down a little bit for me. Still, I think it's fairly good.
Jumping off of what you're saying, Aaron, I don't think I don't think it's substantial enough. When you say he covers a lot of ground, I resist that a little bit because I think he mentions a lot of movie elements, but he doesn't tell us very much about them.
Exactly, that's exactly what I meant.
Yeah, he says this guy's acting is good, and this is awesome, and this is good, but what about that? Like, how does that play into the into the overall narrative? Why is it why does that make the film more effective? Those things are really important. And so yeah, you don't have a lot of time. You've got 3 minutes, but I think I think he really needs to have more of a plan going in.
That's exactly it. I think it's planning the structure. I think it's understanding the structure of what you're doing. If you're going to go off the cuff, which I do a lot of reviews off the cuff, I always kind of know my outline in my brain, kind of the structure of what I'm doing, so I know when I'm moving from point to point, and I think that helps the organizational feel of it, and it helps it feel more substantial.
But see, I also don't know that just knowing when you're gonna say what necessarily solves the meat problem. Like he can write down okay, I'm gonna talk about acting here and cinematography here, but does that necessarily mean that he knows exactly what he wants to say about it?
No, you also have to know what you want to say as well.
Yeah.
That is the
but I'm just saying that I don't think structure is even necessarily the main issue here. I just think that we need to get more at the root of what's working or not working in the thing. Lance.
In this case, I think the structure and the substance kind of go hand in hand, because I do feel that if you're doing off the cuff and don't really have an idea of when and where you're going to say things, you can lose. You might have that substance plan when we walk in the door, but if you lose where you're going, then you lose you lose track of where you're going, and you lose that substance as well.
Yeah.
And I would say, I know I've done this a couple of times when I do log and off the cuff type of stuff too. If I have a lot of stuff I really want to say and I'm afraid I'm going to go off track on a tangent and forget to come back to something important, I'll make just put bullet point lists on a sheet of paper in front of me. That way I'm not scripting anything, but I still at least have a map, a roadmap of where it is I want to go, so I don't lose anything. Because it is really sort of a pain when you're talking off the cuff, and then you finish, you turn the camera off, and realize, oh, I totally forgot to talk about this really important thing.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
I will say overall that I did end up being kind of disappointed with this one, because I do feel his last video was a bit better at being substantive and being better at staying on track, and I did get kind of that feeling that he had sort of not introducing the movie before he went into it, and so we sort of had a battle later on. There was about halfway through the video where he's like, oh yeah, by the way, Gordy's the main character. And it's just stuff like that where it really feels like you have to have at least some sort of plan. Whether you're scripted or not, you have to have a plan.
Manos.
Yeah, I agree with everything everyone said so far. And I also have had experiences similar to what Lance has mentioned, where I cut, I get up and I go, oh, I totally forgot that one thing I wanted to talk about. And it will depend on how important it is to the overall theme of what I'm talking about in my review. Like, if I really felt it was important, I'll just sit back down and just do the video again. And some cases, it's like, it was only a little aside, so I'll just let it go. And that's the danger with doing off the cuff kind of material. I think it's a good video, but not a great video. I did enjoy his enthusiasm for the film. I did get that sense when he's talking about it, and his overall delivery in just about all the videos that he makes, I think he's a really good presence.
Yeah, he's definitely very confident, and you feel like you're in the room with him. Did everybody get the floor?
Yep.
Let me think if there's anything else I wanted to mention real quick, because I haven't talked a lot. Yeah, it's almost, I mean, it's definitely a review, but there's certainly almost a stronger recommendation component, and I think that it's really successful at that. Like, you know, I got to the end of it, and you know, his enthusiasm is infectious, so it made me want to maybe go take a look at the movie. But let me ask you guys this real quick, and this being a 3-minute thing, maybe it's just the nature of the beast, but this is just kind of an aside, but do you guys think that it makes sense to ever go back to a movie that old and go non-spoiler?
It's a little tricky, because, you know, not everybody's seen every movie, you know.
Yeah.
There are some films I still would love to see from the 40s that, you know, I probably wouldn't like the ending ruined to me, you know, provided they're not too big. Like, you know, I've never seen Rebecca. I'd like to see Rebecca, but I haven't had a, you know, the whole, it's not big enough to the point where, you know, plot is going to be blown just by pop culture. That's the thing, like, pop culture kind of does spoil movies that are somewhat older than 20 years.
Well, I guess part of the reason I'm asking is because I feel like it's difficult to be critical because you're going to be so much more selective when you review something older, right? So you're either going to pick it, or at least this is me, you're either going to pick a movie because you want to do an in-depth analysis and it's for the folks that have seen it, and it's a retrospective, or you're going to pick something because you want to recommend it to an audience. And what really is the point of being all that critical with that review if you're not going to explain very much about it? I mean, if you're not going to give very much away about it, because the whole point is to get people to go watch it. So I think that hurt him a little bit here, because it's like the intent isn't real clear. Actually, I think I know what he wants to do. I think for the sake of the competition, it's like it just feels really awkward to go back to something from '86 like this and be really critical, unless your point is to analyze it.
I would agree with that.
Okay, that's just a suggestion I wanted. I just now thought of that, and I'm like, oh man, that's kind of, because I was trying to kind of hone in on what my deal was with this one. Having said all of that, and I've mostly said negative things, I think this is on par with the first video he did. I think he's at exactly the same level right now.
The reason why I chose Stand By Me for this for round 2 is because I wanted to stick to what I'm most comfortable reviewing. That's obviously films and movies and all that. So I wanted to review a film, so I thought I would take the opportunity to review like a classic film that I usually wouldn't do normally. So I thought Stand By Me is one of my favourite films of the 80s, and I thought I could put some insightful points into it, and plus I found out some ways I could put into other criteria, so that's why I chose Stand By Me for round 2. I'd say the hardest part about this round was like including the random criteria. I mean, you just got to think outside the box this time. You really got to stretch your imagination and think of all these creative ways to put these criteria in, so I'd say that was the hardest part of round 2 for me. In terms of what I'd do differently, I'd probably spend more time trying to put in the criteria in terms of more creative visual ways, I guess. I mean, some of the criteria I thought were just kind of just put there, so I think if I were to do it over, I'd probably put more time into actually working them into the video itself, the random criteria that is. In terms of Top Banana, I'm a lot more confident that I could get it this time than I was last time. I think I actually put more effort into my video in terms of the visuals and the cutaway pictures and also the criteria as well. And for those reasons, I do think I'm more confident that I'll get Top Banana this time round. I'd say the hardest of the random criteria to include was probably the Shakespeare quote and the pun. I had a hard time trying to find a Shakespeare quote that kind of linked to something I wanted to do, so Stand By Me. but I was Googling Shakespeare quotes and trying to think of some good puns in my head, and I'd say they were probably the hardest to put in the video. I'd say is the Shakespeare quote and the pun. In terms of my performance this round compared to last, I feel a lot better. I thought my first round performance was kind of a bit weak in terms of like the cutaways and elaborating on more of my points, but I think this time round, I personally think I have done better this time round than compared to the last one.
Okay, moving on to Major Key 600. Major Key 600, anime design.
To be or not to be, without review nor without review. These were the words that echoed through my mind more frequently than why Batman and Robin is such a bad movie. Questions of why I'm referencing Shakespeare, why am I inner monologuing, and what does this actually have to do with what I'm reviewing today? But none of that pesky context matters now. There is only one thing that does, and that's
trying to break the record on how many hair and eye colours there can be in one video. Onward!
Anime has numerous amounts of styles and influences, as does animation in general, but while anime as a genre is not shackled by one particular art style or art direction, instead can be home of many creative and just inspiring designs and choices, there have become sort of semi-standards in this world, that not a lot of Japanese artists use or necessarily have to follow, but do so out of a tradition for the medium. And today we're going to be looking over briefly what these standards are and how effectively they're used. Now here's an eyeful for you. Ow, okay, I promise, I won't do that again. Some of the most recognisable standards in anime art design is the big, expressive eyes. Now, like I said before, not all anime art designs or Japanese artists have to follow this pathway or use it as their art direction, but a huge chunk of them do. As a person who has animated eyes like these before, let me tell you when I say they can express so many emotions, so many gestures with these eyes. You can make them tear up, look dumbfounded, have a burning anger, have a face in them that just says, yeah, buddy! And of course they also have the very recognisable line strokes to emote happiness, winking, or closing of the eyes. These type of eye designs are so detailed, and yet the littlest change to the design can give such a range of emotions. This is probably due to their influence from extremely early Disney works, where big expressive eyes were used for extreme motions and extreme expressions. And that's really the key to how anime designs can look so beautiful and so unique from other designs, because so many of them are fueled by pure emotions. Whether they need to be cute, scared, intimidating, comedic, or any other form of expressing themselves through characteristics, personalities, it's all done, ultimately, with their appearance. Japanese artists know this, and that's why they draw them with such emotion and such passion, so that the same emotion and passion can be viewed directly by the audience. Viewers look at this and their attention immediately latches onto something, whether that be the way they're drawn, or the way their colour palette is, or perhaps something so simple as the way their eyes look. Overall, if you couldn't tell by now, I'm definitely going to say that anime designs are truly effective and are hugely unique and gigantic, one big breath of fresh air to the animation community as a whole. And that's something a lot of people tend to forget about these days. Whether waxed on with detail or waxed off with it in some cases, anime designs are certainly a huge part of the animation culture that shows no sign of being any less impactful. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you some other time, some other review. Take care.
I've decided to do this entire critique with just communicating with my eyes.
Oh! Hey, that's not very nice, man.
Do you agree or disagree? Okay, no. Actually, I may need your help with this one a little bit. There's something about this that feels off to me, and I may need help putting my finger on it. I like the examples he gives. I like that it's informational. I feel like I learned stuff. Like I learned stuff about anime and the eyes and that kind of stuff. I'm having trouble putting my finger on the review part of it. I think there is a review here, but I think maybe it's so abstract that I'm having trouble deciding if it works or not. Like, am I supposed to be figuring out if, like anime eyes is a good thing or a bad thing, or if they're doing it well or not doing it well? So I think for me, it suffers a little bit because I was confused as to like what technically he was reviewing, although I thought the information seemed to be pretty good, and I love the visual examples that he gave of a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
I felt the exact same way. I think the reason is he doesn't really address the context of the argument that he's wading into, and that's that there are people who are Western animation snobs and hate anime. And the one thing that they often point to actually is the eyes, so I'm glad that he focused on that. But it's like he completely was trying to get into the debate and engage with the debate and clearly come down on one side, obviously, because he's an anime guy, but he doesn't bring up that there is a debate. So the whole thing is just sort of contextless and blowing in the wind.
But let me suggest this: even if he did acknowledge that there was a debate, then that would make it a debate video. Like
I would agree with that.
It's not a review.
I'm not sure it really works as a review.
It's a video.
It's either like a historical piece or a blatant work of apologism.
I'm gonna say it's more broadly, it's either a video essay or it's a like mini lecture. And it works that way for the most part. Although even if I were to look at it just on those terms, take it out of Who Reviews the Reviewers, and just as a video, my one big criticism about it is it feels like the first 3 minutes of a much longer video until he gets to the end, because the title of the video doesn't say anime eyes; it says anime design, and he focuses exclusively on the eyes. The introduction is good. The overview of what he likes about the design and all of that is there and fine. But then like 3.5 minutes are the eyes, and I feel like I'm getting like maybe part 1 of like a 5-part lecture series, and then let me bring it back to the contest. It's just not enough of a review. It's not the subject's too broad. You've got to pick a thing and review it. I just don't know how you can. I don't know how you could possibly spin it where you could review anime design and make that a review. There's because like there's a lot of different kinds. There's a lot of different things, and so then it becomes an overview. And I think you can do a review, an overview review sort of thing. We're gonna get that here in a second. It's interesting putting these next to each other because we're gonna get that here in a second with a director's body of work, and that's hard to pull off too. This though, I mean, and I'd love some rebuttals if you guys disagree with me. I don't see how you spin this and make it a critical review.
No, that's exactly what I was saying. Yeah, I couldn't put my finger on how it was a review and or what he was trying to accomplish, which I think is part of the thing that adds to the confusion as well.
Go ahead, Manos.
I agree. Here's the thing. I fell on two different sides of British Weird Al's video, and that.
What?
I'm sorry. You have long hair and
okay.
mustache.
All
I
right.
instantly think Weird Al.
What was that about Ferguson?
I enjoyed the video as a retrospective. I'm an anime fan myself, and I do kind of get fed up with anime snobs who kind of throw everything in the same bucket when they talk about anime. And I think he does a good job focusing specifically on eyes, and I think eyes is, when you're talking about anime design, eyes is pretty much what everybody focuses on. So I think that's a really good idea to do that. But yeah, what Aaron was saying, it's not a review, and that's the problem here. Because otherwise, I like the video. If maybe he had like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it might have been a bad choice to go this week. Maybe he should have saved it for some other point, or maybe worked on. I don't know. I guess he did. He did go into. Did he go into at all of the negatives and the problems with this kind of art style?
No, not at all.
I didn't even see that.
It is an apology video, just as Alex suggested.
I would definitely say it was either an apology video or making a statement with the video, which is a problem when it's supposed to be a review. And in that respect, it fails. But if you look at it as a totally different, kind of essay statement video, then I thought it was good, but not all the way. I think you're right about it seeming like an introduction to a larger video.
Good, Lance.
Scott, I echo pretty much everything else. I do want to say, and this is leading into the main point, that I do kind of take issue with the idea of referring to anime as a genre. It's sort of like saying that every live-action Hollywood film is the same genre. It just doesn't make any sense. But it also belies the fact that this is just it's a very gutsy topic choice he chose. Way too broad because you were encompassing every piece of animation made in an entire country, and it's. And yet in doing that, he does not mention any specific example from any specific work. He shows a lot of different images from different shows, but there's not a single example, like specific, this eye from this show, this thing. And it's far too broad for a 3-minute video. Maybe it's far too broad for a 15-minute video. Maybe focus on, if you focus on a character's eyes from a show, he might have been able to pull this off. There is some good content in here, but it feels very surface level at the end to me, because he was far too ambitious, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think you can get away sometimes with reviewing a part of a thing, Lance. It's actually interesting because the way to make this work, I think, is to go the other direction and go a lot more specific. Actually, even more specific than you usually would. Year one, Lance did that video where he reviewed the end of Superman, for the at least for what we were doing, that worked because it was a review. It was specific. It was critical. If he had, and then like Sam last year got into the contest with a review of just the web shooters in Amazing Spider-Man. I think you could do that kind of thing. I think he could have potentially gotten away with okay, I'm going to review like the character models of this particular piece, and then use examples from other things to compare and contrast, and then maybe I can talk a little bit about the thing more broadly. But the point is reviewing this thing. I wonder if I don't need to find some way to make just our purposes for the contest a little bit more clear at the very beginning, that when you review something for the contest, you've got to pick something specific. It needs to be an object or a piece of media or something. And if you're afraid that it might be too broad, send a message, because I really would have discouraged him from doing this. And it sucks because it's a pretty good video and there's room for this kind of stuff, but it doesn't work for our purposes.
I would love to see like an hour-long video that he does that's a whole dissection of anime history and how it's, legitimate art and all that stuff. But it doesn't fit for the contest.
I agree. Actually, I have a habit of not subscribing to our contestants until the season is over or they get bumped off or something like that. And this video definitely it would make me want to subscribe to him if I just randomly came across it. I mean, it's a good solid beginning, I think, of an idea.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this little interview for round 2, where we reflect upon, as we did before in round 1, the reviews that we have done and stuff like that, while answering a few questions. Well, quite a few to go through, so we're going to jump around to this. Apologies ahead of time if my voice sounds very shuffled. I've just returned from a very lengthy trip to London, and it's pretty early, so I'm going to blaze through this as quick as possible, if that's all the same to you. Plus you probably have other ones to watch. So, a few questions I was saying before, and we have 2 additional ones. That's why I want to blaze through this really quickly. Because I have this tendency to ramble, as I'm doing right now, so yeah. Why did I pick the subject to review? To put it simple, I tried a different other subjects. That's kind of the reason why. For those who don't know the behind the scenes, I was running a bit late on the production of handing in the thing. Not too much. I think it's by a day or something. But I was a bit late on handing in the round, just because first off I had a lot of real life stuff going on at the time, but it's good the fact that I tried this so many times, because the criteria was so obscure that it's trying hard to make fluent. I basically ultimately just wanted to make comparisons at some point in this contest, the difference between Western animation and Eastern animation, Japanese animation and American animation, stuff like that, and what the differences are. I did a script of the differences in voice actors, the differences in production, stuff like that. And I mentioned it in the design because anime's on some really recognisable stuff, and you can clearly tell where's from where. And it also ended up being the best script that could fluently produce the criteria. So that was that. Well, if I had, what was the hardest part of the review? The hardest part of the review was again trying to make the criteria flow. Yeah, that was actually just trying to make the criteria flow. What would I do differently if I had the chance to do it over again? The yeah buddy joke actually, near the middle. Just the way I presented it. I think I could have, if I had more time, had a better way of presenting it. The segue, just like, sometimes some designs have the designs like yeah buddy. That segue was fine. I don't mind that. It's the way I presented it. Just all I did was just a text and an image. I thought I could do a better way of presenting that, but oh well. And do I think I'll get top banana? Like before, I'm a pessimist on my own work, so I don't really think so. I think someone like that, Matt Kidd, Cars Reviews, people like them, I think they'll do much better than me in terms of ratings. But if you want to vote for me, awesome, great. I am very grateful towards you. But again, very pessimistic. I could draw the Mona Lisa, and I think it would still be rather bad. And the two additional questions: what was the hardest of the random criteria to include? The 80s action movie reference, just because most of the 80s action movies ones I know include swearing. So instead what I wanted to do is I wanted to do kind of a nice family one, so I looked up for family 80s action movies. And I remember The Karate Kid, and technically it's an action movie because of the tournament at the end, so I just wanted to add in the wax on, wax off thing, because animation's like that, you draw it so you sometimes have to wax on or wax off. And how do I feel about my performance in this round compared to the last one? I feel like I actually did pretty good. I feel like I did a pretty good job, and I think I took some of the criticisms on board from last time, because I was doing a lot of stuttering before, and I think you can hear where my voice stutters just a tiny bit in this one, but I've improved upon it more. I think the jokes, especially when you have criteria like this, flow much more better. I toned down the whole playing to the audience, not to the audience, playing to the judges down a lot, so there's not as many inside jokes. Like you could show this to any random audience, and hopefully they'd get it. They'd at least understand. So there's no jokes that would go fly over their heads. And yeah, I try and make everything seem fluent. I think everything was a bit more fluent. I think it was more snappy, more cohesive, and hopefully it's turned out really great for the judges and for you guys when you watch it. But yeah, that's it. I ain't gonna waste any more of your time, so I'll let you look at all the other contestants' interviews. And I will see you guys some other time. So an interview or review. Take care.
Here is Kai's reviews, and it's Doug Lyman. Here we go.
Many moviegoers, myself included, often like to sit down with each other and talk about our favorite directors. Names like Scorsese, Nolan, Spielberg, Tarantino, and Eastwood fly around. But there's one in particular who I really like, but in that conversation, his name would probably never come up. This gentleman is Doug Lyman. He's worked on a number of popular films from the last 10 years or so, and while he's not a flawless director, he's unlike many nowadays. He really takes the time to think about how he wants to film and adapt the scripts. The action sequences are always top-notch. The frequent use of practical effects over CGI is always apparent and puts a smile on my face during a viewing of one of his movies. Aside from all of his movies at least try to convey deeper meanings and comment on a social or political issue, with endearing and relatable characters, which is something that most summer blockbusters don't really bother to do. It may not always work, but you have to applaud him for trying, and when it does work, the movie usually winds up being really terrific. His movies will leave you wanting more, and then getting more in a few years when his next one comes out. The feeling is kind of like, you like this movie? Well, no worries. I'll be back. Throughout the 90s, he directed several independent features. This caught some large studios' attention, and then a few years later, a modern masterpiece was born. Haha, get it? All three Bourne films are really great, and they're the kind that I'd go out and buy on Blu-ray, which isn't something I can say for every movie. Several other flicks he did were Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Jumper. Neither are the strongest installments by Lyman, but they're by no means bad, and one of my big problems with Mr. and Mrs. Smith is that it's a self-silly blockbuster that winds up a rom-com that just panders to Bradgelina fans. The problem with that, and the same could be said for Jumper, is that a silly script adapted into a serious movie makes for some tonal awkwardness. Come on, Bradgelina. It's ridiculous. I'm still waiting for two famous people with the names Phyllis and Louie to get married, so their celebrity name will be Phooey, which coincidentally happens to be the word that I would use to describe my reaction to the Bradgelina fan base. While he's really great at directing action, one problem that I do have with a lot of his movies is the amount of shaky cam involved. While this has gotten better over time, in his earlier films it really sticks out like a sore thumb, and even in his recent work, it's still present in some areas. Shaky cam is mostly really hard to follow, sometimes nauseating, and it can be used as a tool to not carefully shoot a scene with attention and detail. Kinda makes you wonder what was going on behind the scenes.
And action.
Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake.
Writers giving their screenplays to directors to make the movie reminds me of a guy who once said, "God gave you one face, you make the other." Do my ears deceive me, or am I getting off topic? Doug Lyman is undeniably very good at what he does. He films the script and directs the actors very well. I rarely notice any bad acting in his movies. The action sequences are always entertaining. Yeah, buddy! I'm giving Doug Lyman, strictly as a director, a 3.5 out of 4. Thanks for watching, everyone. This is Kai, and as always, I'll see you all next time.
He looks like he's 12, but he absolutely has his movie knowledge really up there. I find him pretty impressive, actually. And like he has a strong sense of film movie history, and he has specific opinions about them and particular tastes. And when he shows up on camera, he's like, oh God, how old is this kid? It's like it's almost like two different people. I like the. If I had a kid out of high school, this would be this guy.
Wow.
So essentially, I'm pretty impressed with his knowledge of this director. I learned a couple things, and I consider myself a little bit of a fan of this guy. And he is one of those directors who just makes good movies, and he's kind of not a star director.
Yeah.
And because there are Tarantinos and there are Scorseses, but there are also guys like this guy who, I can't name him, but hey, I love Swingers, I love Go, I love Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He spent a long time being angry about Brangelina fans, which made me laugh. It's like, oh, you damn Brangelina fans! Oh, ruining everything. I think I don't really have too many problems with this. Maybe a little bit of shoehorning the necessary requirements for the video. I might suggest they just felt a little too blatant. But otherwise, I'm digging the kid.
Superhero enthusiast.
I agree with the arbitrary criteria. I'll also say after the previous round, this was a big step up, because I know we all kind of had issues with his first round entry. I really liked this. Personally, his humor doesn't work a lot of the time for me, but I think that's just a taste issue, so I'm not going to hold that against him at all. I think the thing that really stood out to me is he made a particular point about how adapting silly screenplays into serious films leads to a lot of tonal awkwardness. And I thought that's really true, and I've just seen a lot of films lately that have had that problem, so that just stood out to me as being a really astute point.
Yeah, it is, except that I didn't agree with him in that particular case.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because I think in that particular case, if that's what happened, it probably made that a way more memorable movie than it would have been if they just shot it straight.
Mm-hmm.
But I've only seen that movie once, and it was like 10 years ago, so I don't know. Maybe if I watched it now, I would totally agree with him. It's been a while. I probably watched it when I was his age.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's very good at pointing, instead of saying, hey, this kind of sucked, he actually had, he has he can explain why, a particular film doesn't work for him, or does work for him. At least that's what I get from just watching, just simply watching this video.
I want to say real quick, yay for the new logo. I'm so glad he took my advice on that. It looks good. It's cool that it's animated. He went above and beyond on that. I was really distracted by something this time that I did not notice before. he very faintly has that song from the End of Fight Club, the last that like 6 seconds
What is
on
my mind?
that it was 6 seconds on loop through the entire video, and that's gonna drive me insane when I'm sleeping tonight. I'm gonna say pick different music or cut, but cut that out. I either pick different music, don't do anything at all, but like using that as the thing that opens your review, fine. But don't put it on loop. I don't think that's working. That's driving my brain insane right now. Mr. Dyson.
I don't think I like this as much as you guys did. It's good. I like, when I go back to what is the purpose of what he's doing, I think he accomplishes it well in that he's reviewing a director that he wants people to know about. I had a lot of little technical issues with this, again, some audio stuff, some of the green screen stuff didn't work for me. I try not to hold that stuff too much against a review, but at the same time, you know, there's a bit of perfectionist in me. I want, you know, I mean, part of his head was cut off in one of those green screen shots, and I'm just thinking, you know, that's when you're working with a green screen, that's pretty easy to, you know, fix because you're just keying it out. Anyways, some technical stuff like that. I thought the Brangelina thing was out of place. It's okay to be snarky and attacky, but when it doesn't have anything to do with what you're reviewing, it really stands out as I'm going out of my way to attack this thing, because it really didn't have anything with what I'm doing. I just want to say this thing is wrong, you know. So it's a, you know, it's kind of a, I mean, there's the connection. They were in one of his movies, but you know, he kind of gets there on a bunny trail. The other thing, and maybe this has a lot to do with it, he mentions how the Bourne movies or movies that he would buy on Blu-ray, and he's pointing to the Bourne Ultimatum. Doug Lyman didn't direct the Bourne Ultimatum. He only directed the first Bourne movie. Paul Greengrass did the other Bourne movies.
Oh, wow.
Paul Greengrass is an amazing director, and I actually fell in love with the Bourne movies because of what Paul Greengrass did. So it's an interesting little thing where my brain's going, wait, don't give Lyman credit for Ultimatum, because that's actually a Greengrass film. So so I wanted to bring that up as well, and I don't know if that was a slip or if he knew that or what, but it was something that I felt like I should mention.
I'm guessing he probably just, put the camera on the wrong.
You know what? I don't know though, because I don't know about that, because the way he talked about it, it sounded like he thought they were all
three. He's holding it. He's holding it in his hand and pointing at it. That's his point reference. He's pointing at the Bourne Ultimatum.
Yeah, it seems like he just didn't do his research.
Yeah, it could be.
That might not be the case, but it sure comes off that way now that you say that. Oh man, I didn't know that. I didn't go look it up myself.
Yeah, I'm a Greengrass fan, and so maybe there's a little bit of that in it too. But
but that's,
you know, but Lyman's great. He does great work, and I think overall, again, he accomplishes his purpose. So I think it's a good, you know, review. But there were just some things about it for me.
Aaron, that joke, the whole Brad Pitt thing, is I thought was precisely the same thing as that first review with the cell phone thing. Like it just goes off in a weird direction for far too long, and it's kind of like, it's almost like he's trying to come up with like that one big like set piece joke. And I think maybe you can get away with that if it's more related and it's better integrated, and and if you can use it as a transition to the next thing, then that would work a lot better.
Yeah, I kept expecting him to bring it back around and use it as a transition because he kept going with it, but then it just, he didn't do that.
Lance, have you had the floor yet?
No, I'm not.
Go ahead, man.
It's nice that Nos and I think some of the other most of you have confirmed what I thought, that it is Brangelina, right? Because I swear you're saying Bradgelina in the interview. I mean, if you're gonna go off on this big, review-stopping tangent, you might as well get your portmanteau, proper line. But I was surprised that Aaron didn't go off on the more than did, because I had that as a big portion of mine, and I know that Aaron really the audio stuff really drives him crazy, because I felt trying to do this when he was playing it back just then, where I was used to with his off-camera microphone. I had the volume set at that level inside the screen, it's blasting out my eardrums. So I immediately turn down the volume, and then he goes off camera, microphone's back on, I can't hear him anymore. And that's a really big issue for me. It wasn't minor discrepancies in audio, it was you can't listen to it without making serious adjustments. And as there, I mean, aside from that, I don't really have much that everybody else hasn't already said. Some of the show stuff felt obligatory. I love the shaky cam joke. That cracked me up.
That was funny.
That was funny. And it was overall solid review. There was just some tangential stuff, some obligatory stuff. It wasn't as cohesive as it should have been, but it was just done pretty well.
May I say that it was a bold choice in a round where you could pick anything to go with a director's body of work? I mean, like when we did that challenge, was it last year or the year before? I think it was last night. Alex, you'd remember. You did every one of those.
I don't think we did it last year. I think that was season 2.
Maybe it was season 2. Okay.
The only thing we did that was like that was Ebert.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And that was similar, but it's not. Yeah, not exactly the same thing. I was just surprised he went there because I thought when we came up with that when we did it before, maybe he didn't even know that we'd done that. But like I thought it was like a chore, and it was going to be like a thing that everybody was like, oh man, I can't. So like for him to pick that of his own accord when he could review anything, I thought was quite a bold move, and I think it was plenty critical. And I think that he was pretty good with examples. I think he spent too much time on Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but I think overall he did a good job of grabbing different examples.
First question is, what was the hardest part of the random criteria to include? I'm gonna go with the 80s action movie reference because it's easy to include a reference, but it's hard to make it funny. And I don't think my reference to the Terminator was really that funny. It's just kind of there. And the green screen effect was okay, I guess. Actually, no. It's hard for me to do a lot of chroma keying, which is green screening, where it's like compositing. In fact, speaking of which, my green screen is right over there. Yeah. I was just filming something a little about yesterday. I haven't taken it down yet. It's kind of hard to put up. It was hard to make funny, and it was just hard to just execute, and just a concise, well, maybe not concise, just just cool, I guess, yeah, just a cool, funny kind of way. How do I feel about my performance this round as opposed to how do I feel about my performance compared to last round? I think I improved a lot. I think I was more comfortable on camera this round. I think I stayed on topic more, and I really discussed what I was supposed to be reviewing. And I think and I made a lot of improvements that the judges pointed out. I improved upon a lot of things the judges pointed out needed improvement in the previous review, like the background. And I never really actually liked that background, and I'm really glad to have a new logo. I had a friend help me out with it, so special thanks to him. And yeah, I just think that, overall, I think I think I was able to, I think it was a little more entertaining than the last one, and, I think the audio quality improved a little, and, I just think it was an improvement over last round. Why I picked the subject for the review, I picked Doug Lyman because I wanted to review something that I thought a lot of other contestants wouldn't be talking about, and I wanted to talk about a director and talk about, just review his skills. I'm not talking about reviewing Doug Lyman as an actual person, because I don't know him personally. I'm sure he's a nice guy, I've seen interviews of him, but, I don't know him, so I'm just talking about him as a director. I've noticed that there are a lot of underrated directors, and he's definitely one of them. And it was just lately I've been thinking about him as a director a lot, because he did two movies that I really adore, The Bourne Identity and Edge of Tomorrow. He did one movie that I really wanted to like, and I do like the idea of, which is Jumper, and he did one other movie that I wasn't really crazy about, which was Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And I just kind of wanted to talk about him, and I wanted to discuss cinematography, and I didn't want to actually review just one movie. I wanted to talk about the director and his kind of like his skills overall and, you know, cinematography and all that. You know, that's, you know, my main interest is filmmaking. The hardest part was keeping it under a 3-minute time limit. That was really hard. There was so much stuff in the original script that I wrote that I had to cut out and rearrange. There was so much stuff, you know, I had trouble, you know, fitting it, you know, 3 minutes. Like, I was thinking of asking for an extension, but I didn't really like that idea, because I just wanted to stay true and, you know, and fulfill, you know, the criteria that was assigned. But it was really hard fitting it under 3 minutes, and I think I went 1 or 2 seconds over, which the judges said is okay as long as it's not like 5 seconds or over 3 minutes. And yeah. What would I do differently if I had to do it again? Let's see. I noticed I noticed that during the shaky cam joke, there was a little image that I was using before of a camera shaking back and forth that I animated over some pictures that I was showing, and oh, by the way, I think that the on camera shaky cam joke was a big improvement over the phone joke from the Google Plus review. I think it, you know, it just, it fit better. I didn't have to get off topic to make that joke, and it was more concise, and it was just, you know, it was shorter, and it was right to the point, you know. I mean, I don't think it was like a brilliant joke. I mean, I don't think it was like Louis C.K. or George Carlin, but, you know, I thought it was good. And hardest part, what I would do differently is, because if it was easier and took less time to render videos, I would have gone back and you know, fixed this in a second. But it took about an hour to render this 3-minute video in my software. I'm gonna have to look into fixing that problem. I would have gone back and I would have changed, as I was saying, you know, the shaky cam joke. There was this image that I was using of a camera that I was like animating to shake back and forth, you know, like shaky cam, and I was making it fade out, but it continued on to the next video track under the shaky cam, so it was still kind of there during the, you know, the on-camera thing, which, you know, it was a mess up, but, you know, I think it turned out okay, but I would definitely redo that, and, I would maybe talk about, Doug Lyman's cinematography maybe a little more, but, you know, I think I talked about it as much as I could, you know, and there was a 3-minute time limit, which is, kind of hard. The phrase, "yeah, buddy," I think was pretty easy. I don't know, you just kind of have to insert it. You can get clever and creative with it, but, I don't know, I was kind of, short on time, so I tried to do the best I could. 2 things I have to say about last round. I remember one of the judges, Aaron Dicer, first off, he said he complimented me. He said he complimented one of the things about my Google Plus review. He said I was really well spoken. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. He said he wasn't sure if I was if I like wrote a script or not. I do write scripts before all of my videos, because it's really hard to, you know, just like formulate your thoughts and just, you know, say whatever. And another thing that was written in the judges' notes, one of the judges found one of the jokes that I had in the Google Plus review to be borderline offensive and a little tasteless. Man, I'm really sorry. I think I should have thought about that a little more before having that in there. I wasn't aware that it might be a little controversial and offend people, and I really do apologize if I did offend you. I didn't mean that, and this whole part right here might get cut out, you know, of the deliberations, you know, round 2. But I'm just saying, if you're watching this, I do apologize, and I didn't mean to you know, offend you. I'm really sorry, man. I didn't mean that. I was just trying to be, you know, entertaining. But yeah, I am sorry, and I hope, you know, you can, you know, forgive that a little. But thanks. And yeah, that's just about it. Thanks for watching. Or this whole part with my closing is probably gonna get cut out of the round 2 full deliberations. But good luck to all the contestants this round, and I hope it goes well for everyone.
I hope I don't get voted off. But yeah.
Okay, I am pulling up the results for Viewer Top Banana from round 1 right now, and remember that Travis and Katie already have immunity, so they cannot be voted off this time. I don't know if you guys remember that, but we're going to have 2 people this week that will have immunity. So Travis and Katie already have it, and the person who gets immunity from round 1 is Comics Kid 2099. He got 21% of the vote, and that was not broad sweeping. Mr. Goodplot got 19%. So anyway, Comics Kid is safe, as is Travis and Katie. So you guys keep that in mind when we get to the vote off here in a few minutes. Right now, we're going to go on to our top banana, and remember that our top banana just kind of gauges where we're at right now of who we thought had the best video this week and who we think is kind of ahead of the pack right now. But our top banana does not affect the contest in any other way. We will have Viewer Top Banana as always, and the only and remember that you can't vote. I guess I'm talking to the viewers now, but remember that you can't vote off anybody or anybody who had Viewer Top Banana this time. I mean that you can't vote for that person. So Travis and Katie and Comics Kid 2099 both will not have immunity next time, regardless of what happens. And let's now go on to Top Banana. Hopefully you guys have given it a little bit of thought, and we're going to begin right away with Lance Fusion.
This is a really tough one for me, I would say, because there were just so many that were really, really good, even a few where I just didn't have negative critiques at all. And it's really between 2 for me, or has been for a while now. And I think ultimately I'm going to go with Squatch Gang for his Alien vs. Predator Requiem video. Although Birdman is a very, very close second. He was so ambitious, but I do think that keep taking a moment to so I do think Squatch did the job of incorporating all the challenge elements. He wasn't quite as ambitious. He had the best solid view, I believe.
Okay, let's. So we got 1 for Squatch Gang. Let's jump over to Alex.
I'm really tempted to give it to Connor, but I'm going to have to agree with Lance. Squatch Gang I thought was the best this week.
I am also going to cast my vote for Squatch Gang, and can't believe I'm doing that because all the way, and I think about half an hour ago I about had it nailed in my head. But all last night I thought it was going to Connor. That video was incredibly well executed, but I couldn't find one problem with Squatch. Wow. Okay. So yeah. So that's my vote as well. Obviously the other 2 people don't count, but we're gonna hear from them anyway. Manos. Who were you gonna vote for, man?
That's fine. I'm used to not counting. But
hey, I had already decided to go third. I didn't know what you guys were gonna say. Go ahead, Manos.
Oh man, this was tough. This was between 2 myself, and I think I'm gonna have to go with Squatch Gang as well. This was tight. I almost went. I'm not going to say who, but I came close to a couple.
Aaron, is it unanimous?
It might be. Let me say before that, nobody's mentioned Good Plot since we've been talking Top Banana, and I just wanted to mention him because those were the top 3 for me. Easy were Good Plot, Squatch Gang, and Connor. Yeah. And I loved all those videos. Very minutely, I have to give it to Squatch Gang as well. Just as an overall review piece, it beats out the Birdman review. There are a few things in that didn't work for me. Even as ambitious as it was, the level of difficulty isn't enough to put it over the top for me. So I give Squatch Gang.
That is exactly what my top 3, if we were doing top 3s, that would be it. It would be Connor, Good Plot, and Squatch Gang for me this week.
And I think it's also really appropriate that we all went with Squatch Gang because I think a lot of us were, or maybe all of us were in agreement that he handled the challenge portion of this the best.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Connor did a great job with that, and so did Good Plot. But I mean, not just was it a great review, but also he nailed the arbitrary criteria thing. Took it completely in stride, and I think anybody could watch that video and have no idea that we mandated that stuff.
Yep.
Not one of them. Okay, so congratulations to Squatch Gang. Way to get Top Banana. And so Good Plot had Top Banana last time, just in case people are keeping score. Squatch Gang got it this time. And now we're gonna move on to everybody's favorite part. Here comes the vote off. This is potentially going to be the hardest vote off we've ever done in a way, because we're going to vote off the largest amount of people at one time that we've ever voted off. At the beginning of the year, we went with 12 instead of 8. We gave 4 more people the chance to compete this year, and the goal for round 3 is to get down to the number that we usually start with, and that means that today we are voting off 3. Which is an insane amount. It would have been 4, except Robertson had to leave. So it was always in the plan to do this, to jump from 12 to 8. And it's going to be rough, and it's going to be sad to see 3 of you guys go. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. So here's what I want you guys to do. I want everybody, just for a second, to think of the 3 that you would that you most think should go. But the way we're going to do this is we're going to go around and we're going to name each person that could be that is eligible to be voted off, and everybody gets 2 votes. So so figure out what your top 2 is, and then if there is a tie, then we'll go with our thirds. So everybody think of the 2 that you would vote for, and then to vote off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the list, and we're going to tally it up. And instead of going around robin like we usually do. So if this works out, we should have 3 with the high scores for being voted off just immediately. Beginning at the bottom of this list, let's start with Kai's Reviews. No votes for Kai's Reviews. Mr. Cool. No votes for Mr. Cool. Mr. Good Plot. Major Key 600. Okay, that's 4 for Major Key. Lance is about to cry. Look at him. I almost said Frobertson, but he's already on. Connor. Squatch got viewer of Top Banana, so it wouldn't make any sense to even mention him.
Yeah, get rid of that
guy. Matt. Jack's Channel of Stuff. That's 1 vote for Jack's Channel of Stuff. Jack Does Things and Stuff. That is 5 for Jack Does Things and Stuff. And that's everybody. That's it. So we have 3 people came up at all in the votes, and there is no tie. So we have our 3 that we're dropping. So Jack Does Things and Stuff is unfortunately done with the contest. Jack's Channel of Stuff is gone by just 1 vote. It's all Alex's fault. And maybe no, he was just being honest. He had to vote. And Major Key 600 has also been ejected from the contest. We want to thank you guys so much for being in the contest. We really appreciated your work. We really enjoyed talking about your work, and I think you guys all have a future doing this. And you guys should definitely not be discouraged by this. Keep doing this, and hopefully you're able to take something from the contest. I'm Captain Logan, and this was The Real Manos.
Hi, goodbye.
Lance Fusion.
I'm Lance Fusion, and I endorse this message.
Aaron Dicer.
Goodbye.
And Purple Man.